welcome to the Dojo Talk Podcast. Please remove them shoes before entry.
Sam Master is here, and you still have not taken off your shoes. Yeah.
Living every day to define man's mission. Looking to the sky for divine transmission. Deaf man's vision makes the blind man listen. Eyes on the prize, this is blind ambition. Thank you.
Welcome to another edition of the Dojo Talk Podcast. I'm your host, Serial Sensei. We are on episode number 150. Boy, I didn't think we would talk about fisticuffs for this long.
I think the wildest part of that is we've only been doing this for not even 3 years yet.
Right. I think we're coming up on 2. And doesn't the UFC have a card every week for like the next 10 weeks? Something like that?
Something crazy.
Yeah.
Oh, wait, no, they have off October 12th. Vacation.
Ah, okay. Here we go.
They're off for Yom Kippur. Let's go.
There we go. But,
Wait. I think my calendar just hasn't caught up. I might be wrong. Oh, no.
I think it's for a while.
If Dana makes me skip Yom Kippur, I'm going to be very upset. Nope, they have a card on the 12th. And the 18th. And the 26th.
Yeah.
And the 2nd.
Yep.
And the 9th.
Yep.
And the 16th again.
We're here to the end of the year.
Oh, wait, no. They're off for, Thanksgiving in November. So, there's, 2 weeks without a card, and then we get UFC Overeem versus Harris on the 7th of December. So we're here basically until I'm done with school. So great, awesome.
There we go. So episode 150. As always, you can give the podcast a listen. SoundCloud, YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Spotify, YouTube. Oh, I said that already. Send questions to dojotalkpodcast@yahoo.com. Hit us up on social media at the Dojo Talk Podcast Facebook page, as well as the Instagram page. And you can follow me on Twitter and Twitch at Serial Sensei. And as you guys know, I am joined with my co-host, Theanticool. What's going on, man?
So somebody tweeted about the Trenton Makes the World Takes bridge here in Jersey yesterday. And I had to point out that, one, New Jersey energy is basically that of a very indignant parent that's constantly reminding you that they gave birth to you and that you owe them.
They're starting the trends, but they don't get the love.
Exactly. And two, technically the bridge is half in PA because that's a bridge between, Jersey and Pennsylvania. So the Trenton Makes part is technically in Pennsylvania, if I'm remembering right. But it has me thinking, wow, Jersey's a bitch-ass state. Because we just give away, all our important shit. The Statue of Liberty. Technically in Jersey waters. Technically closer to the state of New Jersey. For whatever fucking reason, we give the rights to it to New York without contention.
I know, you guys might have to start a little civil war over there.
But, the freaking Meadowlands, all the teams that ever played there, the New Jersey Nets, the New Jersey Devils, the freaking, God, what were they? Were they the soccer team? I don't remember what the other team was. But for whatever reason, we defer to New York City when we give them not one, but both of our football teams. Because the for those who don't know, and the Giants and the Jets, they don't play in New York.
Yeah,
they play in
Jersey.
They play in East Rutherford.
I imagine access is probably a lot easier.
Uh-oh, are you kidding me? If,
yeah.
The cost of building a football stadium and then a parking lot to sustain that football stadium in New York would be astronomical to the point you probably never make your money back.
Right.
But at the same time, they are technically Jersey teams.
I know. I might have to start charging them a tax.
Hell, the New York Red Bulls don't even play in New York. They play in Newark.
I don't know. I think then you might have to have a Jersey, New York meeting, and
I feel like we're why are we giving things away? Can we have nothing nice?
y'all are loving and kind people.
That's a lot.
You give to thy neighbor. Sometimes you got to be stingy though. You know, if they're not being grateful, you gotta take all the groceries back that you loan them. Oh man.
This is a very niche bit of anger, but it's anger I feel in my soul.
Yeah, that's valid. That's valid. Well, New Jersey and New Yorkers, y'all hash that out. Hash it out before the holiday season, though. It's the season of giving. Well, it will be. So you got to figure that out before we start handing out gifts. Or maybe you guys could go on like a gift, what's the word? Like strike.
Yes.
You don't give anything to New Yorkers. So, I'm sorry I'm inciting violence in areas I don't even live in, but y'all figure it out.
This is Jersey. We don't need outsiders to stoke our violence. We do that ourselves. We're out here pulling machetes in like street fights. Like it gets crazy.
Yeah. Well, speaking of Jersey, we got some listeners out there. Shout outs to the listeners wherever you are in the world. Share, repost, tag a friend, all that good stuff. Top cities for the week as far as listeners. Number one, I'm going to need you to help me pronounce this because it's in your state, and I'm sure I'm going to say this wrong. Secaucus, New Jersey?
Secaucus, yeah.
Secaucus, there you go. They're number one. Number two, London, out in the UK. Shout out to you guys. Number three, also out in the UK, Bromley, if I'm saying that right. Bromley, United Kingdom. Appreciate you guys. Number four, no surprise, you guys popped up on the list after last week. Moscow, I see you.
That explains it.
Yeah, trying to keep up with your Habib news. We see y'all out here. And number five, Frankfurt am Main, Germany. Probably said that wrong. I'm sorry. There were a lot of overseas listeners. Istanbul, Turkey popped up. Amsterdam, Netherlands popped up.
Khabib is an international star.
Yep. Canada's down here.
He's out here drawing 25 million people on television in Russia.
There you go.
So
shout out to everybody who listened to the Habib Poirier podcast. The numbers were like normal that first couple days, and I just kind of stopped looking at them, and then I came back literally right before we started recording. And I was like, oh, a lot of people, somehow between the last time I looked at it and today, a lot of people went to go listen to that podcast. So appreciate you guys. And of those listeners, I'm assuming some of you guys are new. I hope you came back this week, and I hope you stick around. Don't come here and then like put your feet on the table and then leave. Like stay around for like a couple weeks. Don't leave quite yet. We'll be talking about Habib again anyway, so you might as well just stay here. You know, he'll be back. But appreciate you guys for listening. Keep sharing, reposting, tag a friend, share with your grandma when you're at the DMV. Share with the people in line. They're miserable anyway. They need something to do with their time while they're waiting for number 543 to be called. So you know, just plug it into their ear. They'll be grateful. Hopefully they'll be grateful. But as for today's episode, I think it's gonna be a good one. There was a lot of good happenings this past weekend. Of course, we got Cowboy versus Cerrone, which that card was. We'll get to it. That card was wild, man. That was a fun time. But we also had a lot of boxing going on. We had Tyson Fury out here, Amanda Serrano out here. There was a lot of fisticuffs being thrown. So we will get to all that. But first, of course, we have to start with news and notes and all of that goodness for the week. So I will run down my fight announcements and the one news story that I have that maybe like a niche section of the MMA community cares about, but I'm going to bring it up because it's a big deal to me. and then we'll get on to these fights. So, fight announcements, running from the top. UFC Sao Paulo, and a fight that I don't think any of us saw coming. Jacare Souza is moving up to 205 to fight Jan Blachowicz. Okay.
Yeah. What's with them giving Jan Blachowicz to do to move up from 185? Because like they did Luke Rockhold, they gave him. Was he Devin Clark's first when he moved up to from 205 to 205?
That sounds like a fight that happened.
Yeah, it did, because like he like bulldog choked Devin Clark along the fence. We were like, wow, can't believe that really happened.
Why y'all keeping Jan away from Jones?
Thiago Santos.
Yep.
Well, I guess,
Well, to his credit,
it was the other way around.
I would say to his credit though, at least Santos had been at 205 for a little bit.
I know, but at the same time, like he had fought Eric Anders, who was a 185er.
Oh yeah.
Oh well, I guess Jimmy Emmanuel. So I guess I guess you're right. He had fought a prior 205er.
But our point's still kind of valid. I didn't realize that he has fought a lot of guys who've been shifting weight classes. They just end up in Jan's crosshair for some reason. Like he's like the test.
I mean, yeah, I guess like. It's crazy to think like 2 years ago Patrick Cummins beat him. Quote unquote beat him.
I don't even know how I feel about that fight. Like I don't.
I like Souza's chances better than Luke Rockhold's.
Yeah. Yeah.
At the same time, like I'm expecting Jacare's chin to go any second. So.
And this could be the one that might put him out. But
right.
We'll see. I think it'll be a fun fight. It was just a really random, just kind of like.
Like, hey, you're going from fighting John Jones to fighting the guy who just lost to Jack Hermanson.
Right.
On like a week's notice.
Yeah. I mean, if nothing else, it's a good name to have on your resume though. So.
True. Former Strikeforce middleweight champ.
Yeah, good name to have on the resume. So we'll see how that fight turns out. This a really kind of odd random fight, but that'll be a thing at UFC Sao Paulo. At UFC 244, Stephen Wonderboy Thompson versus Vicente Luque, and then we'll also have Andrei Arlovsky versus Jairzinho Rozenstruik. I'm happy for this Luque Thompson fight. I'm glad Luque is fighting somebody with a name, like a big name. Albeit Wonderboy hasn't, he's been Wonderboy. He's had some highs, he's had some lows.
Right.
He's had some other lows, but he's still a name that people recognize. So I'm happy that Luque at least finally got a fight like a marquee kind of fight. Like, all right, this fight will mean something. This could be big for him.
Yeah. I don't know if I see that fight going all that well for him, but I'm happy he got it. Get the opportunity. It's not like it. I think the veneer has been pulled back a little bit on Wonderboy, where like we all thought he was like this amazing, like defensively, like just really hard to hit dude. And it's really just been proven like time and time again, if you are willing to just sit down in the pocket with him. Or just force him to sit down in the pocket with you or chase you or whatever, you could probably tag him pretty hard. Because, like, Till did it, Woodley did it, Pettis did it.
Boy, did Pettis do it.
Matt Brown did it back in the day. Like, it's I'm not saying it's easy, but, like, it's possible.
Right, it can be done.
But I could also see a fight where Wonderboy is, like, just dancing on the outside and Luque's just, like, running into right-hand counters over and over again. So, it's going to be I hope it's a good fight. Luque's in it. So
yeah, I think it'll be a good fight. How you feel about Arlovsky and Rozenstruik?
It's interesting because we both really liked how Arlovsky looked in the Rothwell fight in the rematch. But like at the same time, Ben Rothwell looked like shit. Like he looked like crap against Blagoy Ivanov when in his return fight. Like he doesn't have that same. He's not able to push that same pace he used to be able to push, and that's really the thing that was getting him wins against guys like Overeem and what's his face before he got suspended.
Right.
But like we both like what Arlovsky was doing. Like there was less emphasis on big punches and more on just stringing like 4 or 5 punch combinations together, pivoting, just not staying in the same spot after throwing punches, and really basic stuff like that. There was more of an emphasis in his game plan, and he went out there and landed like something like 100 punches in like 15 minutes, like power
he was
punches.
getting busy.
Yeah, mind you, again, that's Ben Rothwell, who has always been a bit of a sponge, and doesn't really move as well as he used to anymore. So I'm curious how this works against a dude like Rosenstruck, who not the most polished dude, but like he's got some offensive weapons and he's got power in both hands, and I guess he could throw that head kick. So I'm curious if the style holds up against somebody who could just bomb on you at any minute.
Right.
But then again, Arlovsky's chin hasn't been cracked in a hot second, hasn't it? Like it's not like he's been out, like even the fights he's been losing, it's not like he's been out here getting bombed on. It's just like he's losing like really close kickboxing matches.
Right. And maybe this might be just me trying to make myself feel better about this fight and more comfortable picking Arlovsky. Like Rosenstruck has been out there killing dudes, but his 2 UFC wins are Albini and Crowder.
Right, and if I'm remembering right, like the first round of that Albini fight was pretty damn terrible.
Yeah, he didn't come on till like the very end when he got the finish. So this is a big step up in competition. And Arlovsky, for his age, he's not looking at somebody I look at and really say like, oh, he's washed. Like,
right,
dude,
which is crazy considering like where he was when he ended up in like I don't know,
World Series of Fighting.
World Series of Fighting. Yeah.
Yeah, he's in pretty good form out there. So we'll see. That should be a interesting.
I seriously think Arlovsky is technically on the feet better than he's ever been. It's just that the dude made his money being really hard hitting and really explosive, but that can go when you're 40 years old.
All right. We'll see though. We'll see. I like that. It's a nice little heavyweight scrap. So that'll be at UFC 244. At UFC Copenhagen, we were gonna get Gunnar Nelson versus Thiago Alves. Thiago Alves had to pull out of the fight. Insert new challenger, Gilbert Burns versus Gunnar Nelson, and I'm all for this.
Yeah, it's a really good fight.
Yeah, this is a really good. It's a good matchup. Obviously, Gunnar's really great on the ground. Burns is also really great on the ground, but Burns' striking has come a really long way. I don't see how this fight can't be fun. I don't think I've really ever seen Burns in like a fight that wasn't enjoyable to watch. At least in like his last like 3 to 4. Like he's been on a pretty consistent streak, win or lose, of just putting on really entertaining fights.
Yeah, I'm right there with. I honestly like this fight better than I like the Alves fight. Just because I like the trajectory of Gilbert Burns. Right now. I'm like Gunnar Nelson. Like he started to fill out, but he's never been like the biggest 170-pounder. Like he's always been kind of like on the smaller side,
right.
or not. If not smaller, leaner. So like I'm not seeing size being an issue here. Yeah, I'm interested to see if Burns' style of like striking, which is still very based on like explosiveness and being able to catch dudes by surprise. We'll work on like Gunnar Nelson, whose game is kind of built around the same principles, if not a little bit sharper,
Mm.
because of his karate background. So, and if this fight goes to the ground, like we got a former what is what's his face? What is Nelson? He's like an Abu Dhabi runner up or something like that.
Yeah, something crazy like that.
And yeah, I guess another Abu Dhabi runner up and like former world champion jiu-jitsu player. So, I'm with it. Like,
It's wild because I think we forget how good Burns' ground game is because lately he's just been out here throwing hands. Like,
right.
but no, it's there. It's definitely there. Yeah, that's gonna be an awesome fight. That's a really awesome fight. So that'll be at UFC Copenhagen. At UFC Singapore, we got Ashley Yoder versus Zhao Nanyan. And at UFC Boston, we'll have Manny Bermudez versus Charles Rosa. A fight that we won't get, which kind of sucks. And as of now, I don't think there's been a replacement. Hopefully, I'm pretty sure there will be one. But Zabit Magomed Sharapov had to pull out of his fight against Calvin Kattar at UFC Boston. So that kind of sucks. Hopefully there's a replacement. I'm pretty sure there will be. There are too many good fighters at featherweight for there not to be somebody to be able to step in and fill the spot.
My guess will be Josh Emmett.
I ain't mad at it. get anybody in there. I just want to see a Kattar fight. But it kind of sucks. I was really looking forward to this fight, but it's MMA, happens. So we'll see how that pans out. Moving on to Bellator. At Bellator 229, we have Vladimir Tokov versus Brandon Hastings. At Bellator 232, we'll have Paul Daly versus Sabah Hamasi. I remember Hamasi's name. Who did he knock out? I know he knocked somebody out.
I don't remember the name of the dude he knocked out in his last Bellator card, but he was the guy from that weird season of Tough that was Black Zillions versus American Top Team. And he fought did he lose to Kamaru Usman? He fought Carrington Banks on the show. That's who it was. But you probably remember him from his two fights with Abdul Razak Al Hassan, where he got knocked out in both.
Oh, okay, yeah. I was about to say, I know I remember this guy. Okay, Michael Terrell was who he killed in Bellator.
Yeah, that was not even that, a couple weeks ago, I guess.
Yeah, I was in August. I was like, I know I remember this guy's name. Yeah, he fought Abdul Razak Al Hassan twice, and he lost to Tim Means.
Did anything ever come of Abdul's legal situation?
I don't know, but I feel like we haven't
because it's been a year.
Yeah, I'm about to say his last fight was in September 2018. Yeah, I don't know. It's been quiet.
The story came out September 26, 2018. I found a follow-up in the Star Telegram in Fort Worth. Judge drops GPS requirement for MMA fighter accused of rape, but issues a warning.
What?
Yeah. So I guess he was on house arrest.
Well, as of November 2018, he no longer has to wear the monitor.
Yeah. That's the last thing I see from him. He fights out of a gym I guess we'll be talking about later because they had a bunch of fighters on this card in Fortis MMA. So, yeah, it's so weird. I honestly got no idea what happened to the dude.
Yeah, it's been quiet. And the thing is, he had a nice little streak going.
Oh yeah,
I don't know. Well, we'll have to keep I haven't heard his name in a while. We have to keep an eye on him if anything pops up. But the Daly and Hamasi fight, that should be fun. That's at Bellator 232, and at Bellator 228 we'll have Leandro Higo versus Sean Bunch, and at Invicta FC 37, Jin Yufrey will be defending her strawweight. No.
Atomweight.
I forgot. Atomweight title against Ashley Cummings. That's all I got for fight announcements. So I have one piece of news, and then you have a mystery piece of news because I'm clueless. So
I want to give it away again. So I'm not going to make my joke.
So you go. I'll start with mine.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I'll start with mine, and we'll move on to yours. But my bit of news, and I don't know if anybody really
Oh
cares.
shit! Wait! I forgot. We do have one more fight announcement that got made official.
Oh, did I miss something?
November 2nd on DAZN, you will get Canelo Alvarez versus Sergey Kovalev. You thought I was going to say Logan Paul versus
I did.
We talked about that last week.
I did.
But we talked about that last week, Sensei.
Oh,
You're slipping.
man. All right, we'll talk about it. We'll talk about it again. I'm sorry, y'all. That's going to be a thing.
Oh, hell yeah.
Yeah, that's going to be a thing. And
that's going to require a 45-minute breakdown, some in-depth technique analysis.
Yeah.
We're going to be quoting the corners because I'm pretty sure one of them is training with, like, Floyd Mayweather for the fight.
Hey, man. I think the only reason why I'm interested in that fight is because I don't follow either of them. So for me, like, I don't have any feelings toward either of them. I'm just the part of me that likes chaos, I just want to see a spectacle.
See, all I know is Logan Paul is like a junk human being, and that the KSI dude is like a rapper who also like makes FIFA videos. So I don't know. I'm rooting for the rapper.
There we go. But I guess the balance. We talk about I want to just skip over it. How you feel about the Canelo and Kovalev fight?
Oh God, so I'm the big thing here is that Canelo will be moving up 15 pounds to take on Kovalev. But honestly, at this point in his career, I'm expecting Canelo to be able to beat Kovalev. Like, it seems like a lot of the pop Kovalev had, or at least the aura is gone. That allowed him to get off his like streamlined offense. I think Andre Ward took a lot of that out of him. The leader was Eledard. Alvarez knocked the shit out of him. He beat him in a rematch, but like that takes something out of you. It's pretty clear he doesn't like body shots. Like Anthony Yarde was able to hit him with a couple that really hurt him. Really hurt him. Like it looked like he might actually be out the fight. For a quick second before he retook control. And there, Canelo is one of the better body punches in boxing right now. I mean, he's really defensively sound, really hard to hit. So unless Kovalev can lean on his size, I don't see him winning the fight. And if it gets like physicality has always been an issue for Kovalev. Like he doesn't like to get like he does not like the inside. He does not like to be pushed around. I don't think that's the exact type of fight that Canelo likes to have. I don't know if like the size difference will like even that out or if he'll lean one way or the other. But like I think Canelo takes it. But it's a really good fight. Like super good. Like if they were both about the same size, I'd probably be saying Canelo by whatever. But like Kovalev is top heavyweight in the world right now. With Andre Ward retired, Canelo's top middleweight. It's what you want in boxing. It's a really good fight.
Yeah, and obviously I'm not as knowledgeable on the boxing front, but I think when I first saw the matchup, I was like, man, I feel like this fight should have happened a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
Like, I ain't gonna say they completely missed the boat, because I don't think Kovalev is like super washed or anything like that. I just feel like if this would have happened 2 to 3 years ago, this probably would it would have been a much better. It'd have been more intriguing had it happened then than now.
It would have been a more intriguing bout prior to Kovalev. Like I don't want to say holes, but like his the little chips in his armor or whatever.
I remember watching him when he beat up my homie, my all-time favorite, when he fought Bernard Hopkins. I was like, man, this guy, he's a
Yeah, dude's a killer.
he is an animal out there. Like Hopkins survived for 12 rounds, but it was like Jesus Christ, like this guy's a murderer out there. But you know, I guess in this fight I'm gonna pick technique over size. Not that Kovalev doesn't have technique, but like when you see Alvarez like operate at his best, like he's really good, man. He's really good. The only thing that scares me is I don't want to see a moment where like Alvarez like starts to give up rounds.
Right.
And because I think we've seen that from him before, and I don't think this is the kind of guy that you don't want to start giving up rounds.
Yeah, like Kovalev's very much a momentum dude. Like if he can build a little bit of momentum, he will take that as far as it will get him.
Yeah, and when a guy who can hit that hard, that's the last thing you want to give him is momentum and some confidence at any point. But albeit maybe 2-3 years too late, I still like the fight, so I'll probably I'll definitely go check that out. That'll probably be a good scrap.
All right, so I just did we talk about JDS Volkov last week?
We mentioned it, but we didn't go
Okay.
go into it.
But no, I just wanted to make sure we said that it's happening because that's important. So I know I hinted at the secret news that I'm hiding from Sensei, but there is a story I want to talk about from this weekend that didn't result in a fight, but it's kind of hilarious. And I don't know where else I could probably fit it in, but Ryan Garcia was supposed to fight in the Golden Boy card last night. Oh, you know this one then.
I heard about it.
Yeah. But it turns out on Friday, where were they? Were they in LA or were they in Vegas?
I think they were.
You know,
I think they were in Vegas.
Doesn't matter. Turns out his opponent, Avery Sparrow, was arrested like 5 hours before weigh-ins. Apparently, Sparrow had a warrant out for his arrest in Philadelphia, stemming from a gun charge in April.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah. So, Sparrow, being who he is, did not decide to lay low, but decided to face off against Ryan Garcia in the undercard of what was of a card featuring like the lineal heavyweight champion of the world, and against like one of the most high-profile prospects in boxing right now in Ryan Garcia. So I'm a little yeah, I don't know how. What do you make of this situation?
Yeah, like I know, my first thought was, so does Garcia get paid?
No. So that's the other thing. So to back end this story, Ryan Garcia tells The Athletic no one from Golden Boy contacted him yesterday after the back and forth on Twitter, and he was very surprised. My promoter acted in a very unprofessional manner, a pattern at this point. Says he's not sure if he'll be paid since he's not fighting. So, for those of you that don't know, Golden Boy has been kind of the Golden Boy, Oscar de la Hoya. He's kind of been battling his demons lately. And I don't know if the word's battling so much as indulging. Like he's been missing very important meetings with Canelo. As Ryan Garcia said, like he's not keeping in contact with his fighters. The word is he's out partying and like coked off of his mind and like his I guess his vice president has been the one really actually like behind everything going on at Golden Boy recently. So, like Garcia said, there's a pattern emerging here, and it's not a good one. So, yeah. That just felt like really important to mention before we break into the last bit of news.
It's like, bro, how did you get halfway across the country with a gun warrant?
But in all fairness, like you can't. I've heard like from people who've had warrants out from their arrest, and they're like, I didn't know until they came to get me, or like, I forgot about it because it's been like months. or something like that. Like just because there's a warrant out for you doesn't mean they're gonna take you in. This kind of sounds like they heard they had a location on the dude and like they're like, oh, okay, we can just come and pick him up and scoop him and there'll be we'll know where he's at all times or whatever. You know what I mean?
God, that is.
A part of the story I left out is that like Sparrow's team was out with him as they were like jogging because he got arrested while he was jogging. The cops came after him while he was jogging in the park, and then they went to go hide in like a local Target. And then when they came out, like the cops surrounded them, and they had helicopters and shit. Also, like, so
you you thought hiding in the frozen veggies aisle was gonna keep you from getting. Oh boy.
Apparently his team was like, yo, he'll show up on Monday. He just needs to fight so he can get paid. But I mean,
combat sports, man, the gift that keeps on keeping on.
This is the funniest shit because this is like the second time. No, I can't even say like this is the second time it's happened, but it's the second time I can remember. Shout out to Monta23 on Twitter because he pointed out a situation that happened before where a dude tried to show up on fight week with an arrest warrant. But the one I was thinking was Jeremy Stevens getting arrested the day of his fight for nearly beating a man to death.
Oh my god. Boy, oh boy.
Oh my god. Avdalil Kurchitik, who tried to fight Billy Joe Saunders but got arrested on RICO charges. I forgot all about that.
Like this whole combat sports world is just
it does not draw the smartest, most law-abiding people.
Not at all. There are some people who are like really just good at fighting, but that's like all they're good at, and they don't know.
The real world skills escape them.
Yeah.
But so you ready for this surprise news that I've been hyping up, but it's just gonna let you down, in multiple different ways though. So, Floyd Mayweather announced on Instagram yesterday that he was going to be fighting on New Year's Eve in Japan as part of TMT's expansion into Japan. And before we started recording, I asked Sensei who he thought Floyd would be fighting.
And I ran out of guesses.
What if I was to tell you it was a rematch?
Oh no, we're not doing this again. No, we're not doing this again.
According to Floyd Mayweather, he is working on an exhibition fight as a 6-round fight with one current welterweight champion of the world, Manny Pacquiao. Aren't you glad that I held that from you for so long?
God, why are we doing this again? Hold up, I have so many questions. So, where do I start with this? I don't want to spend too long, because we got a lot to get to. But I have questions. I don't know where. I don't even know where to start. Like, so wouldn't you figure, as much as none of us probably really care to see Manny and Floyd fight again in a real fight, like, don't you think that would probably make more money? Or why are we doing? I don't know. I have nothing.
My assumption is Floyd doesn't want to like do a real camp for a fight, and he just wants to get paid to do like what would see like 15 minutes of like light sparring, and that he has somebody lined up who's willing to pay for that, and he just doesn't want to risk his record now that he's at the magic 50-0 mark. And I think if he does it, I think, like I said, I think it's more to do with him trying to expand into to Japan than it does him wanting to like collect a big money check, because he seems to be he really seems to want to expand there. Like he had this whole big rollout for it and everything. Um, so I don't know. It's worth noting that he stated he was working on the fight, which makes it sound like he is putting public pressure on Manny Pacquiao to take the fight, but I don't think he realizes nobody really cares to see it.
Yeah, Manny, Manny, you're still 40 out here, like, still out here putting on competitive fights. Don't do that.
Manny, you just beat Keith Thurman.
Right. don't fall for the bait. Don't fall for the bait.
Go fight Errol Spence.
Don't do that.
Or Sean Porter.
Don't fight Errol Spence.
I mean, just beat Keith Thurman. We all wanted Errol Spence to fight Keith Thurman, so I don't see why we can't have Manny Pacquiao fight Errol Spence.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not like he's not going to be on the juice, so he'll have a shot.
That's true. I don't know. God. What are you doing, Floyd? I know what you're doing, Floyd. It's all of the money, none of the brain damage, I guess. You go in there, throw a couple jabs and a couple hooks for a couple minutes and make a couple million. Not have to strain your muscles too hard.
Money marks.
Yeah. God.
They exist for a reason.
Yeah. Well, that'll potentially be a thing that. Yeah, that's nasty. That's a filthy fight. God, that is awful. But if that becomes a thing, yeah. If that becomes a thing, we'll talk about it, sadly. But I'll save my news story, actually, for my parting shot and shout-out, because I don't have one.
Ooh.
So I'm going to save mine. So we'll just get into some fights. Guess we'll just keep the boxing theme going. Running off of Floyd and Manny potentially having an exhibition. And a fight that wasn't an exhibition.
I mean, wasn't it, though?
Well, I'm going to start with the Serrano.
Yeah, that's what I meant.
Oh, that's what you meant?
Again, I love women's boxing. Been following it for almost as long as I've been following MMA. And actually, like men's boxing. But like, WBC, WBO, IBF, the other two that I am currently forgetting. Can we just fucking get rid of these 2-minute rounds?
Yeah, that's kind of.
Also, can you give the women 12 rounds like you do the men? Like, come on.
Yeah, it's not. It's not like women are incapable of going a 3-minute round. I don't think an extra minute is gonna. Yeah, it doesn't.
It's dumb.
It's and there's no. I would love to hear like what their like actual. Logical explanation for it is.
It has to do with like women are more susceptible to brain damage, blah blah blah. It's this whole thing that the WBC has on like, and there's something to it, but at the same time, like if the barrier is like susceptibility to brain damage, then why the hell are we even doing boxing? You know what I mean?
Right. And if you want some more finishes, you got to give fighters more than 2 minutes. Like, right. That's a really short amount of time to try to like get somebody out of there. But for those who don't know what we're talking about, over this weekend, Amanda Serrano, who is what are her credentials? Because I will get this wrong.
She is a 7-weight division world champion. She's won titles in 7 different weight classes, which I believe is more than any man or woman in the history of boxing. And she fought Heather Hardy, who most of our listeners probably know as a Bellator fighter, but was 22-0 heading into the fight and had just recently won her first world champion, the WBO featherweight title, I believe it was. And is actually a pretty big local star in New York. She always brings out a crowd whenever she fights. I got to see her fight with Shelly Vincent live once, and like, it was on the same card as Errol Spence versus Leonardo Bundu. And the crowd went crazy for her, way more than they did for Spence. Which, in all fairness, Spence is from like Texas, so I guess that doesn't mean as much. But Yeah, so it was a big unification fight at featherweight.
I
And
guess I'll just. Oh, go ahead.
no, go for it. Go ahead, go for it.
I was gonna say that before we even get into the fight, like the actual fight breakdown, I just have to appreciate Serrano for coming out in the J's.
Yes.
Boy, for those who don't know what we're talking about, like most boxers, they fight in the boxing boots, shoes, or whatever they are. Not Serrano though, man. She came out in some clean white and red J's.
Hmm. Like a true Boricua, like
Boy,
just absolutely in the basketball shoes.
yeah, I was gonna say it looked like she came out ready to hoop instead of fight.
Exactly.
She like she was definitely about to hit. She was definitely about to hit the court for a pickup game. She was out there and her Jordans getting busy. Um, boy, those first two rounds were really brutal. Serrano caught Hardy with a lot of power shots. Like it looked like one of those fights that like had Hardy, and if you know Hardy, like she's like crazy tough for no reason. Um, so she can kind of survive, I guess, that kind of punishment. But anybody else probably you'd have been out of there round one, round two at the latest, because Serrano was just unloading on Hardy from the get go. Like every time she had Hardy backed up against the ropes, it was like, oh boy, this is not about to be good. Ugh. According to this little breakdown reading of the fight, I guess this was in the first round. Serrano landed 38 of 58 power punches in the
Yep.
opening round. Like, she was unloading on Hardy for the first two. The fight kind of settled down a little bit after that. Um, it became a bit more measured, and like there were moments when Hardy would like kind of sort of get something going. It's not that she wasn't landing punches. It's just that her hits was so much cleaner and so much harder, and
Right.
just they had a lot more consequence to them. Um,
Every time she hit Hardy, like Hardy shook.
right. Yeah.
Um, like Serrano has like one of the craziest knockout to win ratios in like women's boxing. What,
27, 37 wins, 27 KOs.
yeah, like you're not gonna find like for someone with almost 40 fights, you're not gonna find like a better ratio. I don't know, maybe Anna Sophie Mathis has one, but um, Anna and yeah, no, like just really good showing for Serrano. Yeah, not a bad showing for Heather Hardy. Like she arguably could have been stopped in that first round and fought back to take a couple rounds on the scorecards. Um, or like you said, like her toughness and her cardio are like her biggest attributes, and they were on display here. Never was never too shook. Like never seemed like she was like fighting on autopilot.
Right.
Was very alert. Was very much trying to figure out a way to get Serrano off of her. Also worth mentioning, these like I don't think they're best friends, but these two are like training partners. Were training partners at one point. Like I think they had previously not sparred for in like 5 years or something.
Yeah,
But
they mentioned that a lot in the broadcast.
yeah, and like they're both Lou DeBella fighters, so like they're around one another. My point being, like they're not, like they're both from Brooklyn. Um, they're they're familiar with one another, so that played a little bit into the fight maybe. Um, but huge win for Serrano. Got herself what is it, the interim WBO belt or the interim WBC belt. I believe that's a belt that's held by not Heather Hardy, Katie Taylor. I want to say, I could be wrong about that, but Katie Taylor is up. She's apparently moving up to like welterweight or something. Or I'm sorry, she said she was moving up to like junior welterweight, so 140. So I don't know if because that's the fight that they were really pumping on commentary, and that's the fight everybody wants to see. It's Amanda Serrano versus Katie Taylor. Like that's the fight. Um, but considering that Katie Taylor probably should have lost the decision to Delphine Pursoon, In her last one, like, and she's apparently going up to 140 pounds. It's like there's not really a clear next opponent for Amanda Serrano if she's not around. I'd like to see her go up and fight Delphine, if that fight's possible. I'd like to, if they could get Katie Taylor to agree to fight, I'd love to see that one. But right now it's just her basically walking through opponents. Like even the ones that make it to the end with her, like they look probably far worse off than Hardy did. Like she absolutely destroyed Ava Vorberger, who was a very good fighter in her last one. So yeah, so I don't know if like MMA is next for her because she still fights for Combate. I think she has a fight scheduled for like November, if I remember right. Um, but yeah, no, like good showing all around, good fight.
Yeah, looking forward to seeing her again. They mentioned it like briefly during the broadcast. It kind of sucks that somebody as talented, really for both, like for Serrano and Hardy, who kind of like I guess in women's boxing don't they're not raking in the millions or they're not making the Floyd money. So they kind of have to like do MMA and then fight in all of these other like sports just to kind of like keep themselves out there
Yeah,
because
and
it seems like the opportunities just aren't as plentiful.
yeah, like one of the things that Heather Hardy has stated, like right before her last fight in Bellator, was that PBC basically bought up like Brooklyn boxing. Like they are like all the cars that happen in Brooklyn are basically PBC cars or PBC affiliates or whatever. And PBC doesn't really run women's bouts. I know Floyd has Savannah Marshall, the woman who beat the only woman who ever beat Carissa Shields as an amateur, but still has her signed. But I don't know if they have any other women signed. Like they don't put on women's bouts. And if they're the only ones running boxing shows in Brooklyn and New York, it makes it really hard for like these other women to get like spots. Like Heather Hardy has made her living on the undercards of like big fights in New York. Um, like her fights with Noemi Bosques was on the undercard for Amir Khan versus like who was it, Chris Algieri? Like that's how she's made her living. And if those spots aren't available anymore, like we're stuck seeing her fight on the prelims of like a Bellator card where she's forced to grapple,
Right.
and nobody wants to see that.
Yeah. So yeah. Looking forward to seeing Serrano again though. Definitely go back and watch that fight if you have the zone.
Or if you
yeah.
don't,
Or if you don't, yeah.
go on Daily
You'll,
Motion. It's there.
yeah, right. You'll find it. But no, great showing from Serrano, man. Just out there in J's handling business.
Mm-hmm.
So congrats to Amanda Serrano defeating Heather Hardy via unanimous decision. Moving on to another boxing fight that I almost was gonna give up and not watch last night because God, why do boxing intros take so long? But I toughed it out. I made it. Got some heavyweight fisticuffs. Tyson Fury versus Otto. Is it Wallin?
Wallin. Swedish is weird to me.
It's probably Wallin. If it's Swedish. Probably. I don't know. Either way. Tyson Fury. I'll just call him Otto. versus Otto. I can never not mention Tyson Fury's frame is 95% leg. It's just really it makes sense why he has good footwork and how he can move because he's all leg. So you better be able to like move and have good footwork and get in and out if you have all that leg on you. But
Tyson legs all the way up Fury. Like them shits is just connected to his shoulders.
He's got one of the weirdest frames I've ever seen. But this ended up being a really awesome fight. I had a lot of fun once I got through all the pain of the long intro when we had to sing like 8 national anthems. yeah, this fight was worth staying up for. I was not familiar with Otto at all, so I didn't really know what I was getting into, what was going to happen. All I remember looking at when the fight first started was they mentioned like Tyson Fury has an 85-inch reach. Otto clearly doesn't have near, I don't know what his reach was, but it clearly wasn't that big. I was like, all right, he's going to have to find a way to get inside without getting jabbed to death. And, I mean, I feel like the first round was kind of, feel out. Tyson working the jab. He's doing his footwork. He's doing his Tyson things, as we know him to do. And it started to get a little interesting for me, probably. I don't remember when the cut happened, but
that was the fourth round.
Fourth?
Yep.
Probably around like the second and third, I guess, got interesting for me, because I didn't know who Wallin was, or Wallin, or Otto. But I guess because I didn't know who Otto was, I was expecting Tyson to like get him out of there quick, or maybe not even get him out of there quick, but kind of just like, it's going to look like a masterclass. Like, he's going to take this little poor Otto guy to school, and he's probably just going to box his face off for 12 rounds, or eventually knock him out. But Otto was hanging in there. Like, he lost. He was losing a couple rounds, but I don't think he was getting, like, dominated. He still had to work to get to the inside, because Tyson has a really, really long jab, and, for a guy his size, still really mobile, so he can kind of get in and out. You think you got him against the ropes, he hit you with a little rope-a-dope, and that's a whole issue. And then, but Otto was still somehow getting inside. He would land some good body shots. He was letting Tyson know, like, hey, you're not about to it's not going to be one of them. It's not a squash match. And then it got real interesting in that fourth round when Otto caught Tyson with the left, and we see this nasty cut open up above Tyson's right eye, and boy, that cut was bad. Like, he had like another dimension opened on top of his eye. It was really nasty. Like, the amount of Vaseline they put on that cut was disturbing. In the corner, and I was getting a little nervous for Tyson, because a lot of fighting in general it can be like momentum based, and for me, for a couple moments, it felt like the momentum was like Otto wasn't going away easily, and now we got this cut to deal with. And I'm like, oh man, like, Tyson could potentially lose this fight, not because Otto is like boxing him to death, but you eat a couple more to that eye, and we might have a real situation here. And it seemed like that for maybe like a round or two, where like the blood just kept coming down Tyson's eye, and you could tell it was bothering him, because like every couple seconds he had to like use his glove to like wipe the blood away from his eye. And Otto was making it a dirty, just kind of, he was getting in Tyson's face a little bit, and I was like, oh man, like I was having flashbacks of the Ruiz and Joshua fight. I was like, oh, we're gonna have another one of those moments, and it's gonna end with a cut, like, because I don't know, for a couple moments I was a little worried for Tyson, but I gotta give Fury a lot of props, man. For those couple rounds, eyes bleeding, it's looking really bad. They got an absurd amount of gasoline on the cut. Otto's not going away. I'm like, all right, we might see a crazy upset. And boy, I love when fighters just respond. I love when fighters are aware of what's going on, because clearly Tyson knew, like, all right, I have this nasty cut above my eye. It's causing a lot of problems. I can't have this fight get stopped. I got to start going in. And boy, did he start. I don't know if it was like 6th or 7th round. It was like a light switch. Like, all the momentum that I thought Otto had, or like could have had and built up on, it just went away. Like, he started to really just go in on Otto. Like, he was throwing power shots. He was landing good combinations. Otto, I don't know if he was focusing on trying to hit the spot too much, but it felt like what he was doing in the first half of the fight, like, didn't carry over to the second half. And I don't know if it was more of he was headhunting, or if it was more of like Tyson really started to just kind of put it on him. Like, he was being much more aggressive than he was in the first half. And he was really putting it on Otto. Just really good combinations. He was feeling himself.
Well, after that came after, I guess, the end of the fifth or beginning of the sixth round, where Otto just sticks his fucking thumb into
Oh
Tyson's cut
yeah.
as the referee is trying to break them up.
That was a super like that was like a movie villain like that was like a movie villain move. Yeah, he really did just kind of push his hand like right into that man's cut,
Man,
and like the
I'm
ref
not
just
saying I condone it, but let's be real.
right like I did, you know.
You
It is what
do
it is.
you want to be the lineal heavyweight champion of the world? You fuck with the rules.
Right, and like that's a moment like I know Otto realized like, dude, I might be on the cusp of I might pull off one of the greatest upsets. Like
And then he spent the
Wilson.
next 5 rounds getting the shit beat out of him.
Yeah, that's that boy. When Tyson he switched, a light switched, and he just started just unleashing on Otto. Just every round, just power shots, combinations, walking him down, jabbing him, just everything. Like he really was beating the life out of Otto. And then Otto, he tried to come back that 12th round. I missed the punch that he staggered him with. I don't know if I had, like looked away from the screen a second. Because he hit Tyson with something in that 12th that kind of shook him a little bit.
Yeah, it was a left hand over the top.
Oh, okay, yeah. The left gets it done again,
Mhm.
I guess. Because, yeah, he definitely staggered him. And Tyson looked like he was in trouble for a little bit in that 12th. He was retreating, but too little too late. Because that whole middle of the round, not middle round, those whole middle rounds were just slackings. And the 12th round was not enough to make up for it. But that was an awesome fight. Shouts to Otto.
Yeah,
Good showing from him.
I was not looking forward to the fight ahead of time because Tyson Fury's fights they tend not to go the way you kind of hope that the top heavyweight in the world goes. Remember his fight with the dude before he fought Deontay Wilder, and he got bored and started watching the fight that was happening in the crowd.
Right.
Like, when Fury's unmotivated, he like his level. I want to say his level of like. Maybe it's just a style thing. Maybe he's just like maybe tall dudes are just like his thing, like in the ring, and that's where he like really shines. But like there are ways to make fights with him ugly, and we've seen guys be able to do it in the past. But yeah, no, like this was a pretty good fight. Like Wallin probably just got himself like $1 million fight some point in the future for the title.
Right.
You know, whether DAZN or PBC or I don't know if anybody else is really in the or I guess if DAZN it would be Eddie Hearn or whatever, but he's probably secured himself like another huge payday because like paydays at heavyweight are just ridiculous right now. Like Andy Ruiz was supposed to be just an opponent before he got like the big miracle knockout upset win over Anthony Johnson or Anthony Joshua. What the hell? Um, but like he was still going to get paid $7 million for that fight. Like there's just money being thrown around at heavyweight nowadays. It's really funny. It's like, oh, like I think Vaughn was going to get paid. I think Vaughn got paid like $750,000 for this fight.
I think it seems like it's like a spectacle again. Like
I
it's
mean,
not the heavyweight of old, but like I think this is the most probably in a long time that as a collective, like a lot of us have been interested in heavyweight, like even remotely.
yeah, it's interesting. Like, there's parody. There's like there's a there. I think especially with Ruiz knocking Joshua out, like there just seems like oh maybe there's more to this division than meets the eye.
Right.
Right, especially after both him and Fury beat the guy who reigned over the division for 10 years. So my take on it is more along the lines of these guys, particularly Joshua, probably aren't as good as we think they are, and probably aren't as far ahead of the game as like we're giving them credit for. Like I think they both had particular styles, and Klitschko had particular moments in time that made their styles even more effective. Um, he is like Klitschko's been on the downslide for like a little bit. And he's always struggled with tall dudes, so like it makes sense that like Joshua and Tyson Fury are able to maximize their own offensive skill sets against him. But like I said, there's a lot of you're gonna start to see especially with like Fury and like Ruiz, like as long as these dudes keep taking chances on like these young guys with undefeated records or only one loss on the record, like somebody's gonna upset somebody. You know what I mean?
Yeah, dudes are looking to make. They see the bags getting thrown around.
Right. Not everybody's a cab driver. Like the dudes, some of the dudes that Deontay Wilder was beating on his way up. Like some of these dudes are like legit. They're just waiting for an opportunity or just the right style matchup.
Right.
Um. Yeah. Good fight. Look forward to Fury Wilder not happening because Wilder gets knocked out fighting Luis Ortiz or something.
Yeah. Oh man, that would be crazy. So we'll get Ruiz and
Otto Wallin.
yeah. We'll see. We'll see. But no, that was an awesome fight though, man. I would oh, that was on ESPN Plus, not the Zone. But if you didn't get a chance to see that fight, go search it. It's out there in the interwebs. Definitely go give that a watch. It was pretty entertaining. Good weekend for boxing. Well, I can say that because I only watched those two fights. I didn't see any of the other scraps that happened. So
The Devin Haney fight was one-sided, and Devin Haney looked pretty good. So
there
yeah,
you go.
he got Abdulayev. I'm sorry, I can't pronounce names. He got him out of there in like 4 or 5 rounds, and he quit on the stool. So, or his coach called it for him. So yeah, good weekend for boxing.
There
Fun,
we go.
fun
There we go.
stuff.
And this is one of those podcasts where I'm like happy to talk about fights because it was all good. Like I didn't. There weren't really any fights this weekend that I watched and I like dreaded watching. So shout out to everybody who fought this weekend. You made it a good time. So moving on from boxing, on to more good fights. On to some. Oh boy, yeah, there was a lot of there was a lot happening on this card, boy. But it was a really good time. So moving on to the main event of the evening, UFC Vancouver, which was headlined by Cowboy Cerrone and Justin Gaethje. First, I'll just say what a card. I thoroughly enjoyed this card. One of those cards where there wasn't a ton of finishes, but it was still entertaining pretty much from top to bottom. And real quick before we start, I have to thank the very first fight, which we'll get to last because we do things from the main card down. But I before this card started, I decided to I came home from work and I watched the Serrano Hardy fight because I missed it. And then there was still some time before the UFC started, so I was like, you know what? Let me dip on over to KSW on the Zone, see what they got going on. And boy, did that turn out to be not a good idea. I went over to KSW to watch Phil DeFries and what was the other gentleman's name? Luis Henrique, I want to say his name was.
Yes.
Yeah, I watched these two. I can't even really say scrap it out because there was not a lot of scrapping. And when it did happen, it didn't look good. They had a terrible heavyweight fight for the title, which I think DeFries ended up winning by a split decision. But boy, was it awful. That was not a good fight. Like, not a good fight at all. Terrible. 5 rounds of just nothing. So coming off of that fight, I was a little sour. I needed to pick me up, and this card gave me a good pick me up. So shout outs to Austin Hubbard and Kyle Popolik. If I said that right. We'll get to them later, but they were the first fight on ESPN Plus. They gave me the good pick me up that I needed, coming off of DeFries and Henrique, which I would not recommend anybody go watch. I don't know how the rest of that card turned out, but boy, was that main event. Somebody who I follow on Twitter was at that event, and they said during the main event by like the second or third round, like half the arena just left. Like people were just going home because it was not a good time.
I wonder if anybody was like I doubt it. I doubt it with that type of like card. I wonder if anybody was just there for specifically the main event. And like how people are like with Connor fights or something.
I would hope you weren't there for the main event because boy did you
Waste $100.
boy
I'm sorry, 100 pounds.
Pounds, and worse, you wasted time. You can't get that back. You had to go park and probably traverse through a crowd, and it didn't pay off. It didn't pay off at all. But back to UFC Vancouver. Let's run this from the top. Justin Gaethje versus Donald Cowboy Cerrone. Coming into this fight, I pretty much figured that Gaethje was going to melt Cerrone with pressure, and he probably would get a finish pretty early. He did get the finish, but I will say, like, this fight was a lot more measured than I thought it would be. Because it wasn't like a wild, really brawling kind of fight. It was pretty well measured. Like, both fighters were picking their shots pretty good. And there were just like these moments of, when they got in the pocket, like it would get really violent, and then we saw how that ended. But it was a much more measured fight than I thought. Like, Gaethje came out working leg kicks off top. He started that really early, like came out the gate. I think he threw like 3 straight leg kicks. Cerrone was trying to work the jab and that push kick. And like I said, both guys were kind of measured, just kind of really picking their shots. But what I noticed off top and what I figured would be Cerrone's demise, one, that right hand of Gaethje, the overhand right, which he threw a lot and landed more than once. I knew that would probably be a problem for Cerrone. You try to throw the jab, you get caught with the overhand. And then, like, when they have the close quarters pocket exchanges, just Gaethje is so good in that pocket, man. Like, he can still get off some really hard and clean shots if he connects on you in the pocket. Like, he can really just kind of take advantage of almost any moment on the feet. It doesn't matter if we're at distance, if we're in close range, if we're exiting from, like, an exchange. He's just, like, uber effective anywhere on the feet. And yeah, like, Cerrone did a decent job of, he was trying to pick his shots, but I could just tell, like, this is not gonna go well, man. Like, Gaethje hits too hard. He's too good in the pocket. He started hitting Cerrone with a couple overhand rights, and I'm like, all right, this is probably gonna end at some point.
Yeah.
And it ended. He clocks he clocks Cerrone. I think that was an overhand. I think it was the overhand right that initially dropped him. And it was crazy because when Gaethje dropped Cerrone, it was wild. Like, Cerrone never took his eyes off of Gaethje. Like, when he dropped to that knee, he was still looking up that first time he got dropped.
Mm-hmm.
He was still looking. He was still trying to fight.
He tried to get back up, but his legs just, like, gave up.
Yeah. Legs were like, nah, bro. But his mind and his body, he really was trying to just get back up and keep throwing because his eyes never left Gaethje. And he was looking straight at him. He tried to, like, get up and, like, jab. And I think he got caught with they ended up clinching. He got caught with some uppercuts. And boy, just like I said, Gaethje in close quarters was just, I imagine that not being a good time. Like, he catches you with some uppercuts, they land clean, Cerrone drops, and then they have the sad, like, friendship moment when you're fighting your friend and you don't, like, want to hurt him, where, like, he kind of knows Cerrone is out of it, so he's looking at the ref to be like, I don't really want to hit him anymore, but then you kind of have to because the ref didn't stop it. So he hits him with like 2 or 3 more shots just to kind of seal the deal.
Like, the fucked up thing is, like, the ref did step between, like, Cerrone and Gaethje
stopped,
and then the ref was like, keep going.
Right.
So,
and it's like, come on, bro.
Yeah.
Like, we didn't have to. But it wasn't a brutal stoppage. Like, I don't think it was one of those, like, I'm not going to get in an uproar about it. But, like, just because you know they're friends, it's like, that kind of sucks. Like, you kind of don't want to do that to somebody you're cool with.
Right.
But, you gotta finish the job till the ref says, till he calls it. So
You gotta make your money.
yeah. At the end of the day, gotta make the money. So yeah, this fight kind of pretty much went the way I thought. I thought it would be a little more wild, but it was much more composed, really from both sides, and especially from Gaethje, who's I think been fighting a lot smarter lately, not rushing into too many crazy things. And a measured Gaethje is scary.
Oh hell
That's,
yeah! 'Cause dude,
yeah,
dude has bricks for hands even when he's not charging forward. So, uh, hmm. I've been watching this replay of the knockdown for like the entire time you were talking.
yeah.
It's really weird to me because like Gaethje's like stepping back, and I'm like, I'm not used to this. But yeah, no, the like you said, we got a less aggressive Gaethje, I guess. He made Cerrone have to close distance, attacked his leg a few times early in the fight, early in the round, I guess. Really hard. You could tell it visibly, like, it did not hurt Cerrone, but it was like, okay, this is a thing that I have to be weary of. And really tried to make Cerrone close the distance on him, and it ended up costing him the fight because Cerrone, like the finishing sequence is Cerrone getting caught with a left hook that doesn't really connect, but Gaethje uses it to lower Cerrone's head, and instead of like trying to circle out, Cerrone, who's so hell bent on closing distance and like trying to put any type of offense on Gaethje, decides to follow it up by shifting into a left straight and gets caught with a right hook that immediately puts him down. And like you're saying, he's still looking at Gaethje, but you could tell like it's over at that point. Like his leg, like he puts his leg down to get up, he can't find his balance. Like he tries to put his hand down the mat and somehow misses. It's really weird. Yeah, I like I like measured Gaethje. Don't get me wrong, I'm all for like crazy reckless. I'm going to hit you and you can hit me as many times as you want. Style of pressure. But like listening to Gaethje on the countdown talk about like just anything and hearing him slur so hard. He's only like what, 33 years old or something like that? Not even.
Yeah.
He might just be 30. Let me check real quick. Yeah, he's only 30. Like he has the not quite Chuck Liddell slur, but he's getting there. So like seeing him go through a fight, take 0 damage, and still knock a dude out is great because good guy. I don't want to hear Gaethje get progressively worse from countdown to countdown to countdown. Like he has defense. Like that's the thing though. Like even watching Gaethje like in World Series of Fight, like he has defensive skills. Like he is capable of doing what he did against Cerrone here and like slipping a punch and coming back with a counter. And fighting at distance and not getting into wild 50 punch exchanges. But for what like he's up to this point been very like he's wanted to be very aggressive and put his game plan on other people. But I guess he's learned from the Poirier and Alvarez losses that's not always going to be available for him. So like I'm happy. He's back in title contention. There's 3 first-round knockouts in a row.
How do you think he? And we've kind of pondered this question before. How do you think he matches up against Khabib?
I think he probably matches up better than Tony does, to be honest with you. Like the problem I see with Khabib is that guys give him too much respect. They don't want to get into like long extended clinch exchanges with him, but at the same time, like you're only going to beat Khabib if you're standing in front of him. If you're moving away and backing into the cage, you're going to lose. Like there's no, like he's the best cage wrestler in MMA.
All right.
He's the best cage grappler too, because like you can't even use the cage to get back up because he's so great at using it to keep you down. Like the switch that Dustin Poirier almost hit on him was basically nullified because he was able to throw his hips into the cage to avoid like just completely falling over and also to avoid like Dustin Poirier swimming his arms through his legs. So dude knows what he's doing. So like a guy like Poirier who's not going to be afraid to meet him in the middle and theoretically has the wrestling chops to at least put up a fight should Khabib grab like a low a low single like he likes to do. Like I think that matches up better than Tony Ferguson, who's just going to march forward recklessly at points.
Tony Ferguson will cartwheel his way out of a takedown.
Yeah, like I'm I behind the Ferguson fight. Like I think that's the most entertaining fight possible for Khabib. So at least at lightweight. So like I'm fully on board. He called out Conor McGregor if McGregor is not retired, but I think McGregor's retired for the moment.
Yeah.
I don't think McGregor wants to fight Gaethje, to be honest
No,
with
he
you.
shouldn't. He shouldn't want that smoke. Yeah, I think Gaethje and Tony are the two guys who I look at for Khabib, and I'm like, if there's two guys that can do it, it's them.
Right.
If neither of them can, I don't know what the rest of y'all are gonna do. I don't know. Outside of like a random moment where you just got like a absurd amount of power and you just managed to maybe clip Khabib, I don't see how anybody else other than those two in that division gets it done.
Right. The only other fight available for him right now would be Poirier, a rematch, which I don't think the UFC would do because why would you get rid of a contender?
Right.
And I guess Paul Felder, who is also coming off a win over Essen Barbosa. And, the timeline matches up. If they're able to get that fight, the Ferguson Khabib fight set for 245, maybe you throw Gaethje on there with, I guess whoever would be available, whether it be Conor or Paul Felder or some wild card third person.
Right. Yeah, and that way you keep building the story. So there'll be no question as to who's next in line, even though with the UFC you still never.
I mean, I'm expecting Dana any day now to be like Conor is going to be fighting Khabib because Tony Ferguson would accept my friend request on like Facebook or something.
Right. Something stupid. But good on Gaethje, man. Yeah. Once again, yeah, in title contention, dude is just an animal. And a quick note, I'm not even going to elaborate on this. I'm just going to say this, and I'm going to leave it where it is. I'm pretty sure during this main event, I'm going to say most people, at least that I saw on social media, everybody loves Cerrone and Justin Gaethje. Everybody loves them. But most people do. Or even if you're not a fan, you love watching them fight. And if you're a fan of Cerrone and you're a fan of Gaethje, and you still believe that there aren't any good fighters outside of the UFC, I need you to examine yourself and the sport that you watch, and know where your fighters come from, because they didn't get their starts there.
Are you saying Timothy Nastyukhin is the man who's going to beat Khabib Nurmagomedov?
I mean, hey man, you got a shot. I'm just saying, I just find it real funny how much people love Cerrone and Gaethje. But if you know the origins, if you know, you know. If you don't, I don't know what to tell you. But congrats to Justin Gaethje. He got the finish over Cerrone in the first round. Moving on to the co-main event. Glover Teixeira steps on the lawn to fight Nikita Krylov. I'm always happy when Glover beats the youngins, even though I like Krylov, but I like seeing Glover get the wins over the youngins. He continues to fight on the lawn for another day. Boy, even at like 39, I don't think he's 40 yet, but round up, he's pretty much there. He looks like he's 50, but 39-year-old Glover, still like really crazy, like well-rounded, man. Like, he can go in there and box you up, or he can just go in there kind of like he did with Krylov. I really enjoyed the ground exchanges in this matchup, but really good job of being able to take Krylov down. Really good at getting some clean takedowns, working position, and landing some good ground and pound. He went for a couple of submissions in this fight, but Krylov also had its own moments of at least in that first round, it was a lot of grappling and just groundwork in the first round between the two. I think Glover probably got the better of the grappling exchanges in the first. Second round was a lot more standing on the feet. Krylov spent a lot of time kind of circling around on the outside.
Straight up doing his best Alexander Gustafsson impression.
Yeah, he did. That point when it wasn't a head kick, it was a body kick. He definitely did like turn around and just kind of hit the little jog, hit the little running man. But no, man, Glover at 39 still like bringing pressure. He had Krylov fighting from the outside, kind of just circling around. Glover, he's gonna try to catch you with that overhand right. And he got that off a couple times. I like what Glover did, man. He's pretty much, like I said, another one of the guys that's really well rounded and can be effective pretty much everywhere. If you take him on the ground, I like when he takes dudes to the ground, and you saw it in the Krylov fight. Like, he's not just going to lay there and just kind of, just sit on you. Like, I'm going to work some ground and pound. I'm going to try to advance position. I'm trying to get some kind of submission. I'm going to take your back. But Krylov had his moments. I think he took Glover's back at least at one moment in this fight.
He almost choked him out.
Yeah, he almost choked him out. Yeah.
I think it was second round, beginning of second round, or something like that.
Yeah. And there was a lot of I like the back and forth kind of ground exchanges that they had. But I think Glover just overall had a better game. I think he did a lot better on the feet, and I think it looks better. Even though Krylov was landing shots, I think it is favorable to the judge's eye when you see Glover as the one who's kind of pushing forward, and Krylov is like on his back pedal and literally at points, like taking a little jog around the ring. Like, that doesn't look good. The optics of that doesn't look good. And then I think it was in the third, Glover tried to hit the armbar on him, but Krylov got out of it. But really impressive groundwork from Glover. Good ground and pound, good stand up, just a good overall well-rounded performance. It was a close fight. I enjoyed it. Krylov had his moments. I just think he wasn't. I think those moments on the feet kind of hurt him. Of you kind of backing up a lot of the time, like it just kind of in the judge's eyes that probably just doesn't look good. Not to say he didn't put up a good fight, but
he bloodied the crap out of Jacare up. Like he didn't hurt him in the same way that Jan Kutalaba did, but like he definitely did some damage. Like Krylov is a little frustrating because like there's areas where you could just clearly tell like it kind of looks like he's never just been in that situation before, like training wise, and then there are like situations where like, this man's charging at me. I'm going to hit a really clean pivot into a jab and then just circle off, which he did at one point. I was like, wow, that's a really nice move. Like, why don't you do that more? And then like he got hit by a body kick, he just ran away. But like, yeah, I was surprised that he stuck with Glover so well on the ground. Like, is the same man who was Von Fuchot. Not even 3 years ago. Not even. Oh, this was 5 years ago. Never mind. God, I thought this was like 2016. But like, grappling's always been an issue with him, where like he's good enough to like muscle submissions against like dudes on the regional circuit. He's got like 15 submission wins, but like you put him in there with like a Misha Serkinov, a Jan Blachowicz, they're able to get on top of him and submit him. So I was pretty surprised. Like he did more than hang with Glover. He put him in like some dangerous situations. Forced Glover to go to his back at certain points. Got mount. Had him in a couple of like really one or two like guillotine attempts that I thought were pretty good. Like not too crazy. And got out of a couple of his own. So like really solid performance from Nikita Krylov in the loss. Like arguably the best performance of his career, if we're being honest. Like front to end anyway. Glover, 3 wins in a row. 4-1 in his last 4. Like you said, he's just out here handling these prospects. Like the only prospect that's beaten him recently is like Corey Anderson, who just seems to have disappeared into the abyss in 2019.
he got lost in the shuffle.
And now he has to fight Johnny Walker. Good luck with that.
Yeah.
I mean, we're gonna talk about somebody in a minute who reminds me a lot of Johnny Walker. So I can't even say like good luck with that because we see what the other end of that stick is.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, no, good fight. Good performance from both guys. Like it's cool that Glover's like 40 years old. He's still out here, still racking up wins.
And looks good doing it. Like it's not like you look at him and you're like, oh man, get this old guy. Like he still looks.
Well, yeah,
he's
like,
still effective.
I think that's the most surprising thing. He does like he looks like a 40-year-old who fights well. Like
right.
Like he's not I don't know, freaking like Chael Sonnen. Like where it's like everything looks desperate. Like he's
right.
he's still out here and just performing well. So props to him for that.
He told y'all in the post-fight interview, you just got to believe in yourself. You got to believe you can kick them off the line, and you can kick them off. So that's what he did. But great fight from both gentlemen. But congrats, Glover Teixeira got the win via split decision. Moving on down to heavyweight, the return of Todd Duffy, who hasn't fought since 2015, I want to say. 2014, 2015.
Sound like that. Let me.
It's been some years.
It's been a while, Mr. Duffy.
Yeah.
Mr. Duffy.
It's been a while.
Duffy.
And then the way this ended. Ugh.
The way this ended, it'll be a while before we see him again.
God. But returning after his hiatus, dealing with injuries and just
general unhappiness.
A lot of other things going on, but finally back. Todd Duffy versus Jeff Hughes. Man, this was one of those fights that like seemed like it was going somewhere, and then it abruptly ended, and then you just kind of throw your hands in the air like, oh, come on, guys.
In the most uniquely Todd Duffy of ways.
Yeah, like Duffy came out pretty aggressive. I kind of expected that. Like, you come out a long layoff, you probably want to come back and make a point. You want to come back and really, like, put a stamp on your performance. So he comes out, he's winging some power shots. He's landing some bombs. He goes for a couple takedowns against the cage. I will say, and I've watched Jeff Hughes fight before. He has pretty, like, fast hands for a guy his size. He's not really a huge heavyweight, but I don't know if it looked like a lot of times when Duffy threw, like, I could see a lot of his punches coming, but he was like pretty quick for a guy.
Well, that's because Todd Duffy winds his fucking punches up like a wind-up doll.
Right. Like, because I was like, I don't know if Duffy's throwing slow or if Hughes is just really that fast, but there seems to be like there's a discrepancy here. But yeah, it was a fun heavyweight fight, like up until the end. Like one of those typical heavyweight fights, like Duffy landing a lot of power shots against the cage. You have a moment where like Duffy rocks Hughes and like, oh, you think it's gonna be over, and then Hughes recovers, and then at one point he started countering with power shots with his back against the cage. I think he backed Duffy off for a little moment, and it's like, all right, we got a nice little heavyweight, we got something going here, and Duffy had actually hurt Hughes. I want to say I can't remember what he landed, but he had Hughes in a pretty good amount of trouble, like right before the fight ended the way it did, and then I think they were clinching against the cage, right? I want to say,
yeah,
like Duffy rocked Hughes, and then they ended up clinching against the cage, and
well, Duffy came out. He was like trying to take Hughes down for like a good portion of the fight.
Yeah,
and then like he was like, I guess this isn't working. I'm going to flurry on Hughes, and he did, and then he tried to take him down again. Then he tried to flurry again, and then Hughes caught him, and turned that into him pushing Duffy up against the cage.
Right. Heavyweight. Just heavyweight.
Yeah.
Heavyweight stuff.
It wouldn't be a real fight unless somebody was getting pushed into the cage.
Right. and then we have all this chaos going on, and it looks like somebody's about to get put away. Like it looks like it's not about to make it out the first round, and then they clinch against the cage. Somehow a finger ends up in Duffy's eye. They separate. I thought it was funny that the first thing the ref said to Duffy wasn't about the eye; it was about him grabbing the cage. Like, he doesn't go up to ask Duffy if he can see. He's like, if you grab the cage one more time, I'm taking the point. And then he asked him about his eye. Thought that was kind of funny. Priorities. But, yeah, they go look at Duffy's eye. And it was, I don't know, man. I don't like to say people quit. I'm not in there. I'm not going to put that on anybody. And I kind of don't want to say that because it's not like Duffy was kind of close to finishing that fight. He had some momentum going at least. Like, he had rocked Hughes, had him hurt. Might have been a little tired because it looked like he was expending a lot of energy, winging those shots, plus going for takedowns that he was working hard for, but they didn't really, like, pay off. So he probably was a little winded. But I thought the fight was going to go on, but until Duffy just kept saying, I'm seeing double. I'm seeing double. Because I don't really think the doctor was... I mean, obviously he's concerned, but I don't know. It didn't give me the vibe that the fight was about to end. And then Duffy just kept saying, I'm seeing double, I'm seeing double. And then next thing you know, ref's waving his hands and we have a no contest. Heavyweight MMA, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah. No, like, and I don't want to be too critical of Duffy when I say this, but Duffy's not the guy who's going to get knocked down and then stand back up. You know what I mean? If he has an out, he's going to take it. And from the replay, like, if he got poked in the eye, like, it was slight. It was glazing, and like that could fuck up your vision either way. But like, it seemed like Duffy wanted an out, and I'm not calling his courage into question. This is a dude who had to sit out for 4.5 years because he couldn't afford getting treated until they built the UFC PI. And like he's been open about like he's basically broke. Like, you know, he's taking advice because he needs money. So, but like I understand like if he's like worried about his vision and like, my eyesight, like my health is more important than like going out here and getting an extra. I don't know how much he's getting paid, like $20,000. Because like one pays for the other. You know what I mean?
Right.
So I can't put anything. I'm not gonna rag on him for not wanting to go out there with potentially compromised vision. So
Yeah,
it happens sometimes.
It is what it, yeah, it is what it is. So I don't want to rag on him either. Like, I'm not in there. I don't know. It's unfortunate from a fan's perspective. We had a good fight. We had some nice heavyweight fisticuffs going, and then they just kind of abruptly just kind of ended. But I don't know, man. It is what it is. Yeah, I don't really have anything else to add. Hopefully we see him again. But after that, I don't know.
See you in 7 years, bro.
Yeah, after that, I don't know. But it was a no contest. But shout outs to Duffy and Jeff Hughes. It was a fun fight until it wasn't fun anymore. So make of that what you will. Moving on to a fight that was all kinds of fun. This is a fight of the year candidate, just for shenanigan purposes. Tristan Connolly, who took this fight on 5 days' notice, steps in against Michelle Pereira, who jumps off of cages, does cartwheels, capoeira kicks, random spinning motions, jumps off of cages. Probably not the guy you want to fight on 5 days' notice, you would think. Like, that's a lot to prepare for from a guy who does just so much randomness. You kind of never really know what he's going to do. But, boy, oh boy, were we in for a treat. I don't know what the odds were, but I'm pretty sure Connolly was probably an underdog. I'm gonna guess.
Yeah, I think it was like a plus 500 underdog.
Yeah, a lot of people thought Pereira was probably just gonna walk in and flip off a cage and cartwheel kick him to death, something crazy like that. But nah, Connolly had other plans. Um, there are a lot of lessons to be learned in this fight, from what missing weight can do to you, from um, having really large explosive moments and like execute these explosive techniques that don't really mean anything, but they're really fun to watch. So I don't want him to stop because I didn't want to see him in the UFC just to rack up wins. I just want to be entertained. Just I don't care if it doesn't amount to anything. I want to see the cartwheels. But nah, man. Like first round within like the first 20 seconds, Michel Pereira jumps off the cage and throws his like patented punch. He hits a cartwheel flip that Connolly's kind of backed away from. Did he do the flip on the ground? That was in the first, right? Is that in the first too?
Can't
remember that.
I'm sorry?
The flip he did while Connolly was on the ground.
That was also the first round.
Yeah.
And
so within like 20 to 30 seconds, like
the man went from breakdancing to more breakdancing to doing a cartwheel kick into a freaking backflip into a flying knee.
Yeah, that was my favorite moment of the fight. He hit two like little spinning motions and turned that into a flying knee.
Yeah. Which he jumped over Tristan Connolly.
Right.
that can't be forgotten.
Yeah, jumped clear over his head.
And then at one point, Connolly was on his back, and he decided instead of going to guard or trying to pass or throwing a ground and pass, he's just gonna turn around, hit a backflip, and try to stop on the man's gut. So yeah, great showing for freaking Michel Pereira.
Boy, on an entertainment perspective, 12 out of 10. At least for that first round. But man, on a serious note though, I gotta give Connolly a lot of credit. He weathered, I can't even really call it a storm. I don't know what that was, but he got out of it.
I mean, half the shit that Pereira was throwing wasn't even really offense. Like,
yeah, like
you hurt a man with a backflip.
Right. You get no damage points for the cartwheel. And even like the punch that he threw didn't land, and I don't think any of the knees really landed flush. But I'll give Pereira credit. The one thing he did do after the shenanigans kind of tired down, I like the body work that he was doing, but it was just that I think he was eventually got so tired that he couldn't really keep it up, because he was landing some pretty decent body shots. But I gotta give Connolly a lot of credit, because dude was just a workhorse. Like, he got out of all of those shenanigans, and he really never stopped moving forward. Like, he was not trying to really let Pereira breathe. And also got to give Connolly credit, because he's definitely not a welterweight. Like, you look at the physique of both of these two, like, there's no way Connolly's a real welterweight.
No,
he has to fight at 150. Yeah. I was going to say, there's no way this guy's a welterweight. They were clearly in two different weight classes. But it didn't matter. Like, Connolly was able to just kind of consistently push forward. He was landing good combinations. And like I said, Pereira, I thought, had good body work going. And he did manage to get, I think in round 2, he actually did get a takedown and was able to work some top control for a little bit. But you could tell that just Pereira was getting more gassed out and Connolly was just getting started. Like, his engine never stopped going. He was constantly pushing forward, landing shots, landing combinations. Every time Pereira tried to catch a break or create distance, like, Connolly was just right back in his face. They had really good ground exchanges. There was at one point where Connolly tried to catch him in like a front choke, and Pereira like twisted his way out of it. It was a whole crazy like sequence. It was a super entertaining back and forth, but like that gas tank from Connolly, he would not go away.
I can't even say it's like a gas tank that he had. It was just like Connolly can fight for 15 minutes and Michel Pereira can't.
Right. And Connolly can be more like effective. I can't think of the other word.
Consistent.
Consistent and effective, and like his moments meant more. Like Pereira's moments were a lot of like flash factor, but Connolly's was like, I'm trying to actually have substance in what I'm doing. It's still kind of wild just considering how the fight was, but he wasn't out there wasting motion and doing cartwheels. Like, bro, I'm tired of that. I'm going to keep pushing forward, and I'm actually out here like, I'm trying to win this fight. And he did just that. And I got to give him all the props, man. Pereira was out there trying, though. Like, he was gassed, but he was still throwing shots, but you could tell, like, he was just losing steam. And Connolly just kept going. But my main takeaway from this fight, other than the cartwheels and all of the shenanigans, is the post-fight. So, obviously, because Pereira missed weight, I think you already got to forfeit like 20% of your purse or whatever that number is.
Yeah.
Then to make matters worse, they ended up getting fight of the night. And fight of the night is 50 G's, but if you miss weight, you don't get your 50 G's. But somebody gets the 50 G's. And Connolly walks away. Takes the fight on 5 days' notice. Wins the fight. Gets fight of the night. Walks away with 100 G's in the bag.
Yeah, he is probably going home with like close to $125,000. Or wait, no, it'd be like $125,000.
Like, the ultimate win. Like, the ultimate win. Like, bro, go home and celebrate. Because you won. You won. But, what were your thoughts on, that fight, spectacle, whatever it was that we watched?
I mean, sometimes we need a reminder that MMA can be fun. And that's what this was. But Michel Pereira is wasted in the UFC. Put him in Rice and then put him against heavyweights. I want to see him. I want to see him try to fucking capoeira kick fucking Bob Sapp.
Yeah, I can't remember who I saw on Twitter said that. It was like, he needs to go to Rosin and fight like Menawamon. You just got to throw him out there against the most random people. Like, we don't want to see Pereira for wins and losses. We just want to be entertained.
I just want cartwheel kicks and like rolling thunders, and I want to know what would have happened if he had landed that backflip. Like, what does that look like? Is he stomping on like Connolly's head? Is he just pushing him back into the cage? Does Connolly's like take a step back and hit a suplex? Like,
endless possibilities. Oh man, I want to know what happened if he would have did that spin to that flying knee and like the knee would have landed. That might have been the greatest KO ever.
What a fucking fight. Oh, shouts to Tristan Connolly. Apparently, Canada's only prospect.
Hey man, he showed up when they needed him.
Yeah.
Put the country on his back. Man, oh man. It's hard to segue away from that.
I mean, there is no segue. That was a thing in and of itself that will never happen again
Right.
until the next time Michel Pereira fights.
Right. That fight is just in a vacuum on its own, and it's just like, it's just its own thing. But I look forward to seeing both of these gentlemen fight again. Props to Connolly, you got the 100-grand bag. Props to Pereira. I appreciate the entertainment. Like you said, sometimes we just need to be reminded that the sport is just fun sometimes. And there's nothing wrong with getting a fun fight. And you know what? In the middle of a card like this, I'm not mad at it. Because we got a lot of good fights on this card. And this was the one fight that was still really good. It was just kind of like, it had that freak factor.
That was pure spectacle.
Right.
We love it.
Right. And you throw it in the middle of a card like this where like all of the fights were really good, and it's like, I can't be mad at this because this is just, it fits right in. It fits in with everything else that's going on. This was like a halftime show. Like if MMA had halftime shows and they just wanted to put on like a spectacle fight, this would be it. But awesome fight. Just awesome. Go back and just watch that one, man. I can't really that fight's hard to explain. It's one of those fights you just kind of have to see for yourself. You can't really put that fight into words. But shouts to both gentlemen. But Tristan Connolly got the win via unanimous decision. Moving on to middleweight. Uriah Hall versus Antonio Carlos Jr., a.k.a. Shoeface. Man, I'll just say off top, it was really good to just see Uriah Hall fight. Like it seemed like he wanted to be out there. Not being lackadaisical, not being waiting for things to happen, and not to say he put on the perfect performance because he got taken down a lot. That's a problem, but it was good to see him really fight with urgency and right out the gate. It wasn't like a situation where he had to get rocked a couple times and it's all right, I gotta, it wasn't like the Jacare fight. We had to pull the comeback. Out the gate, he is working this jab. He is jabbing Shoeface's nose off. He is really popping that jab and working the 1-2. Really just kind of going after it. Obviously, Shoeface trying to work the ground game. Was able to get a decent amount of takedowns on Uriah, and that was an issue. Uriah got taken down, I thought, a good number of times, and I don't think really Antonio had to work too hard for him. But props to Uriah Hall for even surviving on the ground. Even though, especially in that third, he got left on the ground. He was put on the ground for a long time, but managed to get himself out of all the bad spots and defend good enough to not get submitted. So I'll take that. And boy, that was a nasty 1-2 he landed. I think that was in the second or first when he dropped him. I can't remember.
That was the second round, I want to say.
Yeah. Because when that right hand landed, I've never seen so much blood fly from somebody's face. He put it on Antonio with that punch.
Oof.
Yeah, that joint was clean. And like I said, it was just good to see Uriah Hall really go after it. He went to try to go for the finish. But props to Antonio. You could tell he was tired. He was taking a lot of damage, but he never really stopped trying to implement his game plan. Even while he's on his back, getting punched in his face, he's throwing his legs up. He's still trying to go for submissions. He tried to catch Uriah in the armbar. This was a really enjoyable fight, man. I was really happy to see Uriah Hall just kind of go out there and really go for it. And it was cool to see, Antonio. As much as he was catching that jab on the feet, he was still going for takedowns, trying to advance position. I felt like they both were really going for it in their own way.
Right.
And it made it really enjoyable.
So it might not be Uriah's best performance, quote unquote, since he's been in the UFC, but this is the happiest I've been with a fight of his since he fought. What was it? Was it Dylan Andrews, the Australian dude from the Tough House? Where you said he's using his jab. He's pivoting in the pot, not in the pocket, but when he's in front of somebody, he's not just circling off to his right like he likes to do. He's actually pivoting and then using that to counter, or pivoting and tagging somebody really hard with the jab and really messing them up because that's his best weapon. He doesn't use it anywhere near enough, and he doesn't use it with enough variety. But he has one of the better jabs in the middleweight division. If he could get that going to the body, alongside with his alongside with the one upstairs, he will start knocking dudes out again. But here he was more. I don't know if this just has to do with Shoeface not being a great striker, but it felt like he was more comfortable just standing in front of his opponent and fighting from trying to create angles that way than circling and hoping they walked into something. He did a couple of times, and that's when Antonio Carlos Jr. was able to just rush his hips and push him into the cage, and get to his back and get the takedowns and stuff. But just like the first 2 rounds were just like pure composure that we haven't seen from Uriah in a long time. And I'm putting a lot of this on Fortis MMA. We talked about them a little earlier, but like they have done a really good job of just like turning a bunch of guys into like really composed strikers. Like Jeff Neal is one of their products, but like Carlos Diego Ferreira from last week, he looks completely reborn from when he got to the UFC. Earlier in the card, we'll get to him eventually, but Louis Smolka showed up, and that was probably his best striking performance of his career. They had that other dude on here who is still quite obviously green, but like this was a good night for them, man. Like they are showing themselves to be a very good up and coming team in the sport.
Right.
Like I like the way a lot of their fighters' games are built. I'm really, really excited for like Carlos Diego Ferreira. Like I want to see him fight top 10 fighters so badly. I want to see I really hope they're able to turn Uriah's career around and he can get like a consistent streak going, get himself to, wherever his ceiling is, I guess. I know they were saying he splits time between Extreme Couture and he only spent 4 weeks at Fortis, but like I'd love to see him with a full camp there.
Yeah, whatever they're doing at Fortis is working. Cause guys are coming out of that gym and they are they putting in work. They putting in major work.
And like you said, Antonio Carlos Jr. did not look bad in the spots that he was supposed to look bad, I guess. Right. We knew that if they stayed on the feet, it was probably going to be Uriah's fight to lose. But like seeing him just continually fight for takedowns and fight to get position and stuff like that, it was good to see after the Ian Heinisch fight, where like it kind of felt like by the end of it he just run out of steam. You kind of hope after getting knocked down and beat up on the ground in the second round, he would go out there and really, really push for that finish. He was trying for the rear naked choke, but it wasn't especially aggressive. Like he wasn't trying to put Uriah on his stomach and like flatten him out so he can go for ground and pound and stuff like that.
Yeah, that and I'll give Uriah a little credit. He did a decent job like fighting hands. Like he wasn't being super complacent.
Right.
So yeah, it was a really, really fun fight. That was like the theme of the night. Like a lot of these fights were just really fun. Like it was a lot going on, man. Like everybody seemed like they were like out here really trying to prove a point. But congrats to Uriah Hall. Got a split decision win over Antonio Carlos Jr. I'm gonna let you do this next fight first because it hurt my feelings. So I'm gonna let you head this one off.
I completely forgot what fight we're talking about.
It's
No. I remember. So Misha Serkinov takes on Jimmy Crute. Jimmy Crute, the Australian, made his debut against what's his face? Paul Craig.
Albie. Oh no, Paul Craig.
He made his debut against Paul Craig. Then like came back at Melbourne in February and knocked out Sam Alvey. He was fighting Serkinov, who he was coming off the Johnny Walker knockout loss, which how can you hold it against him? But
yeah,
which I guess we only hold it against him because it was part of a bigger pattern where he had been knocked out in 2 of his previous 4 fights. 2 of his previous 3 fights at the time. So the word on the curve, like it just seemed like Serkinov, like the chin is just consistently going to be an issue. So what he did here is he immediately took Jimmy Crute down with the double leg, forced the ground exchange. Jimmy Crute at one point bench pressed him out of like the crucifix position, which was super impressive, but also super telling that he had very little idea for what to actually do to get out of the position.
Yeah, it's had these brute power.
Yeah. It's, like, really impressive stuff. And probably the wrong way. Crute managed to reverse position, got on top, got some ground and pound strikes in. But Serkinov hits this really beautiful sweep. And God, it's killing me that I don't know the name because I knew the name at one point. Basically, hooks underneath one of Crute's knees with his foot. Underhooks the Crute's right leg with his left arm from half guard, and then grabs at Crute's left ankle with Serkinov's right hand. Basically, swings him back. So Crute falls on his ass, and Serkinov is able to get to his knees. From there, Crute tries to scramble up, gets caught in a Peruvian necktie of all things, and Serkinov sells out on it. And while Crute is turning himself over, Serkinov goes and covers Crute's mouth with his hand so that he can't breathe, which is really nasty. I love it. And then Serkinov gets the tap from Crute, all inside of like 3 minutes. Great fight.
Yeah, it was great fight. It hurt. I really like Crute. When I saw that choke get put in, I was like, oh no. When I saw the step over, I was like, oh yeah, he's out of here.
Yeah.
It was so bad that I went online and Googled how to do a Peruvian necktie. So I went and looked up one of those instructional videos. I was like, how did he do that? How does this work?
It's a really fun move to hit on somebody who has no idea like that it's a thing.
Yeah, when I saw it, I was like, all right, I get how this works. It makes sense. You had to do it on him, but but no, that was a nasty submission though. And the fact that like most Peruvian neckties that I see, like you're not on top like that. Like you're like that looked like it hurt more, like because he had the top side pressure going.
Right.
Like that choke alone has enough pressure, but if you're on the top side, like that's got to be crushing. Like, but that was a nasty finish from Serkinov. Really, really slick way he set that up. Hey man, keep your head up, Crute. You know these things happen. You know, you gotta. You'll come back.
It's crazy. Serkinov's 6-3 in the UFC. He's about to be on his 10th fight. Like that's wild to me.
It doesn't seem like he's been there like
2015.
Yeah. Damn, so he's been pretty I don't know. That sounds pretty active. He's like one of those guys who like I remember his name when you mention him, but I always have to see him like, oh yeah, that was the guy who did that one thing.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, he's one of those guys. But no, shout out to Serkinov though. That was a really good performance. So shout out to Serkinov, got the win via Peruvian necktie in the first round, and that rounded out the main card. The main card was awesome, man. Really, the whole card was pretty good. I have no complaints about this card, but that main card really coming off of some pretty solid prelims. You want your main card to build on that, and I think it did that and more. Like there's not one fight on this card, even the Duffy Hughes fight, which ended kind of trash, but up until that point, it was still a fun fight. So I would recommend you got ESPN Plus or any other alternative ways you can go back and watch the main fight. Definitely go do that. This main card was worth every bit of time to watch it. So moving on to the ESPN Plus prelims. I'm always worried when the headliner of the prelim is a heavyweight fight because I feel like that can either go great or it can go terribly wrong. But we had Augusto Sakai versus Marcin Tybura. And luckily, this was one of those heavyweight fights where everything turned out okay. Not for Tybura, but in the eyes of the audience, I think we got a decent showing. Good on Sakai, man. I can't remember what Bellator fight that was that I always attach him to, which was not a good show.
Was it him getting out wrestled by Congo?
Probably was. Like my lasting impression of him was that Bellator fight. I was like, man, this was not a good fight.
See,
But
I will always remember Sakai as being the dude who went to war with like Matt Frembling in like Bellator 122 in 2014.
he he's come a ways, man. He has come a ways. Since he's been in the UFC, was he what 3-0 now?
He's now 3-0.
Yeah, man, and over like solid competition. Like his second win was over Arlovski, who we just gave props to earlier for, being
Turning his life around.
Right. And he managed to get a win over him in his second UFC fight. And then he comes in against Tabora. Not really a whole lot to describe. The fight ended in like a minute. Heavyweight dudes threw punches. Sakai's were more effective.
Like he has such nasty clinch offense. Like we didn't get a whole lot of it here, but he did throw a couple of like really nice knees to the gut. Like that's the stuff I remember from like when he was fighting Bellator. Just like he would grab a dude and just like go to town with the knees, and he was a really good leg kicker too, if I remember right. But like here with Tybura, when he tied him up and just started throwing like those like 5 or 6 strings of like punches from the same hand, and Tybura had no idea how to break his grip. It was really, oof. There's some violent stuff.
I'm saying Tabora didn't do himself any favors. Just kind of, he was just his back was just against that cage. Like you can't let a dude that big just continually kind of wail on you and think you're not gonna get out of that. Like Sakai was dropping bombs on him. They tied up. Sakai finishes the fight with like 4 straight forehead punches. I gotta mention that. He was trying to come over with the overhand. A lot of them, maybe one of them might have hit like behind the ear, but I swear like 3 of them was like straight forehead punches. But hey, man, it is what it is. Forehead punch, jaw punch, behind the ear. It punches, it lands. It is what it is. And he landed about 3 of them bad boys, and he got Tabora out of there. 3-0 in the UFC. Out here killing it. Congrats to new heavyweights. We need more of them. Always in need of more heavyweights. So I'm excited for his success, and I hope he keeps going.
Yep. I don't got nothing to add to that because
it was only a minute long.
Anyway. It was only a minute long.
Well, I guess I'll throw a disclaimer out after this fight. So I didn't get a chance to rewatch all of these prelims, so my memory for these next couple fights is gonna be a little sketchy. But if you remember any of these, please feel free to join in. Moving on. Oh, congrats to this guy. He won via KO in the first round.
This is the only fight I don't remember.
The John
one?
Okay. Yeah, I don't remember like the next 2. I kind of remember. We'll get there when we get there. But next fight, Miles Johns versus Cole Smith. I remember being entertained. Like I said, none of the fights on this card were bad. I remember enjoying this fight and it being a bit of a back and forth. I just don't remember particulars. And Miles John was from Fortis MMA too, I think, right? Or was it somebody on this undercard was from Fortis?
Hunter Azir is from Fortis.
Okay, wrong dude. But yeah, Miles John and Cole Smith. I remember the fight being good. I didn't get a chance to rewatch it, so it doesn't stick to my head that much. But Miles John got the win via split decision. Staying in bantamweight. We had Hunter Azor versus Brad Katona. Katona was from Contender Series, right? And one of these dudes was from Contender Series. Or were they both from? I feel like they both were from TV shows.
Katona?
Yeah, when they from?
Katona is from Tough. That really bad season. I say that like specific.
Yeah.
Hold up, let me see if I can. Tough 27? Which is the season that gave us What season is that? It does not say. Team Cormier versus Team Miocic. So Mike Trizano and Brad Katona were the winners from that show. And Hunter Azure, I want to say, is from the Contender Series.
All I remember of this fight is in probably about the first 2 rounds. I remember Hunter throwing a lot of winging overhand punches.
And they all landed.
Yeah, he was cracking. He was cracking Katona with just these really just hard overhand lefts and rights, but they were landing repeatedly. And then I remember in the latter half of the fight, Katona was trying to work some takedowns. Because I think Azure was putting too much into those punches. He started to get a little tired in the third. But I don't remember too much of particulars of that fight either. Like, Katona tried to mount like a little last minute, let me get some takedowns in, but I don't think it really amounted to much.
So, a lot of this fight was Katona pushing Hunter Azure up against the cage, trying to take him down. And Hunter being super inexperienced. I think, what number fight was this in his career? It was like his 7th fight in his career, and I don't think he's beaten anybody with a winning record prior, or not. The guy with the best record he's beaten up to that point was like 4-0 on the Contender Series. So he's not very experienced in fights where like he's not the guy pushing the other guy around. So he had no idea how to get off the fence. But in the few moments where they weren't on the fence, he was hitting him with those big looping shots, like you said. And do you remember John Kavanagh, SBG Ireland extraordinaire head coach?
Yeah.
Basically saying that no one should throw the 1-2 because while it feels good, it's a bad punch for MMA or a bad combo for MMA. Well, Katana trains out of the gym, SBG Ireland. And it's really, really noticeable that when he was fighting this quick, big, powerful, I guess boxer wrestler, at no point did he think, I should throw a straight punch, a jab, a right hand, something to make him respect the distance between us. Katana was like, no, I'm going to just stand here and cover up and hope he misses. So that was fun. So, props to Hunter for, he's still super, super green, but like you could, like he's got something there, a little something. Just got work cutting off, keeping off the fence and maybe throwing a jab or two before starting to wing on those big punches.
Yeah. Well, athleticism and strength is a start.
Yeah.
So, yeah, just keep on building on
he
that.
is built like a fucking brick house.
Right.
Like Cody Stamen levels of brick.
Oh man. But good one for Hunter. Went out there and got himself a W. I think he's undefeated. He's like 7-0, 8-0,
7-0.
something like that. There we go. So keep an eye on him. Maybe he'll potentially beat somebody. Moving on to featherweight, Chas Skelly versus Jordan Griffin. All I remember from this fight is the amount of somersaults that we got.
Yes.
Like, there were like 2. I think they both did a somersault, like trying to get, one guy would take the other's back, and then there would be a somersault to get out of the position. And that happened like twice. I remember this being a really fun fight. There were a lot of ground exchanges. Kelly caught some strikes on the feet. You could tell he was really just trying to go for submissions, doing anything he can to really get a submission. So there were a lot of exchanges like that. Like I said, I kind of don't remember the particulars, but I remember this also being a really fun fight, and like all of the somersaults to get out of a choke just made everything so much better. But no, it was a fun fight. Like, a lot of it did take place on the ground, but it was a really entertaining kind of back and forth from both of them.
Yeah. So, like, on the somersault tip, Skelly used his somersault to first break the grip like that Griffin had with his hands, and then to turn Griffin to get Griffin's hip on the mat so that he could swim his hips out and get Griffin off his back. I think Griffin just did it because Skelly did it and he assumed it would work, but all he did was end up with Skelly completely flat on his back and a body triangle locked in. So, there are reasons you do a thing.
I applaud the effort.
I mean, don't get the aesthetic was brilliant, but maybe think it through to the conclusion a little bit more. But it was a fun little grappling scrap. Like you said, Skelly seemed hell bent on having this fight on the ground, and despite having some success on the feet, Griffin obliged him. It's not like Griffin didn't have success after the first round. I think he got mount at one point in this fight and was just like throwing down strikes on Skelly, but Skelly managed to get out. But it was a pretty good scrap. So props to Chaz for getting back in the win column.
There we go. Moving on down to bantamweight, Louis Smoker versus Ryan McDonald. Boy, Smoker was letting hands go. I can't remember what the stat was, but he threw a lot of strikes in that first round.
I want to say this fight went how long?
4 minutes, 43 seconds.
Somewhere around like the 3-minute mark. Commentary, they were like, Smoker's already thrown 75 punches.
Right. he was out there just winging them. But it was a good performance though. Like I enjoyed. He landed a lot of. He was going to the body a lot. I liked how he was really mixing it up.
Maybe this is just me reading too much into it, but I think he's realized that he's never going to be like the athlete some of these other dudes are. They're like, I'm just going to hit the biggest target available, which is the body.
Right. And it wasn't like, I'm gonna just jab to the body and go away. Like he was throwing like combinations to the body. Like you're gonna catch a couple.
No, he was shoe shining the shit out of McDonald.
Yeah, like McDonald, and like kind of in a somewhat similar fashion to like the Tristan fight. Like he wasn't really letting up. He kept a really good consistent pace on McDonald. Just good body shots, head shots. Like he was really going in there, just really mixing it up. And then the finish where he threw like 3 right hands like consecutively. Like he just spammed the overhand right, I think. I think he rocked him with something before the right started landing.
He hit him with like a left hook because it looked like McDonald was trying to block a body shot with his shin or his knee. I'm sorry. Like he put up his knee and lowered his guard to block something from Smoker, and Smoker just followed it over the top of the left hand. That like really hurt him.
And then after that, just rights. And then McDonald's on the ground. Smoker wins. And in a fight where he just threw hands very effectively. And got McDonald out of there. Definitely one of his best performances.
Mm-hmm. Definitely not like the highest level of competition for him, but like if you're rebuilding, this is how you want to rebuild.
Right. So definitely props to him. And closing out the card, the fight that I enjoyed that got the wipe the sour taste out of my mouth from KSW. At lightweight, we had Austin Hubbard versus Kyle Prepolek. I'm saying that correct. Dudes are just throwing. Like, it was a pretty fun back and forth. And pretty much the difference, I think Prepolek was having, they had good exchanges back and forth on the feet, but Prepolek seemed like he was getting the better. And then at the end of the first, he rocked him right at the end of the first and kind of stunned him, but the bell had rung. And then in the second round, Austin was like, all right, man, if, on the feet, we're either even or he might be, like, slightly better than me. So let's start mixing in some of these takedowns. And once he started mixing in the takedowns, he kind of found his way to that was his path to victory, pretty much. He was able to take Kyle down, work his ground and pound, kind of beat him up there. And him being able to mix it up just went a long way in him just kind of getting the win.
Yeah, I think my memory of the first fight is a little hazy for this one. Not the first fight, the first round. I remember the last two rounds with what's his face? Hubbard just taking Prepelic down and kind of just hammering on him a little bit from the top, especially from like the back position. Um, I if I remember it right, Prepelic just seemed a little bit more awkward on the feet. Was able to get some combinations off. I think he landed a head kick at one point. Um, it was really hurting Hubbard to the body with those straight punches, but it wasn't enough to carry him through. He just could not stop the takedown, could not get up to his feet after getting taken down. So props to Hubbard. Why do I know Austin Hubbard? Like, where is he from?
LFA.
Okay.
He was a featherweight champ.
He lost to Davi Ramos. That's what I'm thinking of.
Oh.
I'm like, why do I know? Like, I remember because we were like, oh wow, he won 3 rounds with Davi Ramos, despite most of it being on the ground. But yeah, no, solid win. He picks up his first win in the UFC.
There we go. And that was UFC Vancouver. Like I said, just from top to bottom, man, it was a really fun card, man. Like I said, there weren't any fights that were like bad. Like it from top to bottom, it was just such a fun card. Like the main event gave us the violence we were sure we were gonna get. Got to see old man Glover out here still winning fights. Pereira's out here flipping all over the place, but Connolly left with the win and the bag. We got heavyweights out here getting wins. Young guys, it was a lot. It felt like everybody came to fight. Like everybody really came to fight. This was a really fun card from top to bottom. Definitely worth the watch. So if you didn't get a chance to see it, if you didn't get a chance to catch it, definitely go back, give that card a look. It's worth every second, especially that main card, man. So many fun fights. Shout out to Uriah Hall, just good from everybody, man, top to bottom. I really thoroughly enjoyed watching that card. So that was UFC Vancouver. Go give that a look if you have the chance. Next week, at least in terms of the UFC, we'll have UFC Mexico City, headlined by Yair Rodriguez versus Jeremy Stephens. Also on the card, you got Alexa Grasso versus Carla Esparza. Sergio Pettis is fighting Tyson Nam. Irene Aldana versus Marion Renault. Some other gentlemen I don't know or remember all that well. I remember him. Jose Alberto Quinones versus Carlos Huachin. Paul Craig is down here. Oh, look at Betch Correia. She's down here. Betch Correia versus Sajara Eubanks. Angela Hill versus Ariane Carnelasi, if I'm saying that correct. Marco Polo Reyes is on the card. Oh, yeah, Brandon Moreno's back. Brandon Moreno versus Askar Askarov. It should be a good time. So that's UFC Mexico City. That'll be going down next weekend. Does Bellator got anything going
next week? No, they don't have a card until Bellator 227, which I want to say is the following Friday.
All right, so it's quiet for Bellator. I think one has one of their little Hero Series cards next week, but I don't really watch those. So, but that's the thing.
Let me just triple check something because I'm bad at memory. Bad at writing stuff down. Is that this weekend? Oh, it was this weekend. Never mind. I thought there was like a Kunlun Fight Championship card, but it turns out it's happening. Like it's been happening for like the last 3 days.
It's probably why I've been seeing them a lot on my Facebook feed.
Yeah.
Yeah, keep seeing highlights.
Oh, there's a Glory card. Oh, no, that's not this week. That's. God damn it! Perfect Kickboxing. Put your shit together.
I'm gonna save it till you know what? I'll say that to my shoutouts too, because there's somebody from Glory I've really been meaning to mention and I keep forgetting.
Is it Giga?
Pereira.
No. Okay. So I think I forgot to mention this. Giga Chizmi? You remember oh my god.
I know what you're talking about. I remember the name.
Yeah, Giga Chikadze. I want to say he just got signed to the UFC.
Yeah, I think did we mention that last time?
Did we?
I feel like you did mention that last time. Well, even if we didn't know, now you know.
Yeah.
Now you know.
No, everybody knows. He either got signed to the
everybody.
UFC or he got signed to like fight again on the Dana White Contender Series. I don't remember. Point being, he's close. If not, you'll be seeing him soon somewhere.
There we go. Any boxing next week?
Unless anybody's into Peter Quillen still. No, not really. Like Sam Eggington is fighting Thomas DeLorme. Let me see. Just going through this real quick. Some stuff from Japan. Joseph Diaz is fighting Jesus Cuadro, but I don't think that has like a U.S. Distribution thing. So yeah, no, I think we're good on boxing for next week. There's some stuff the week after, but I'm not seeing anything here that catches my attention immediately.
Right. So it looks like next week will probably be mostly.
I mean, do you want to talk about bare knuckle boxing?
Yeah, you can head that off if.
Because James McSweeney is fighting next week.
Yeah.
And Ishe Smith.
Yes.
All right. Judgy. These people have to make a living, Sensei.
Yeah, no. And you know what? It's legal, so. It's cool. It's just not made for me. But, you know, you guys have at it. It just ain't for me. But there'll be happenings next week. So like next week will be mostly UFC, but you know, as all the fights happen, we'll be there to talk about all of them. But yeah, that's pretty much it for today's episode. So definitely go back. Pretty much watch like all the fights we mentioned. Like UFC Vancouver was really dope. Tyson Fury versus Otto was dope. Serrano versus Hardy was dope. Gotta go. If you do nothing else, watch Serrano and the Jays. Gotta watch the Jays. But no, it was a really, really fun weekend of fights. Really, I enjoyed pretty much like everything I watched. So go give all the fights that we mentioned a look. So we can go ahead and sorry. Oh, sorry, I meant to turn it down, not up. But, so we can go ahead and move on to parting shots and shout-outs. I got two shout-outs. The first shout-out, I actually meant to mention this as a fight announcement for literally like the last like 2 to 3 weeks, and I keep forgetting, and I didn't remember it until you just mentioned Glory. But Alex Pereira, man, like one of the better fighters in all the combat sports that doesn't really get talked about. 4-time middleweight Glory champ. Dude's really been out here just handling business, knocking dudes out, kind of making it look easy. And it was kind of becoming that point at middleweight where it's like, we don't even know who's out there is going to beat him at middleweight because he's just really been running through dudes. And he's really stepping up. He's doing a challenge. He's trying to become the first person in Glory to dual wield. He's trying to do the double belts. So at Glory Miami, which goes down September 28th, we will, and this is Glory 68. Alex Pereira will be moving up to fight. It's for the vacant 205 title. Donegi Abina. I think that's his name, if I'm saying it correct. I've seen him do fight before. I don't know if I'm pronouncing his name right. I think it's Donegi Abina. They'll be fighting for the vacant light heavyweight title at Glory Miami. So that's really dope. Props to Pereira trying to go up a weight class. Dude is really, really talented, so I'm really looking forward to see how that fight turns out, to see if he can pull that off. And my last shout out, on a sad note, at least for me, we mentioned LFA, or at least I know I mentioned LFA a lot on this podcast. A lot of fighters, even from this card, there were a couple of LFA alums on this card. Jeff Hughes was from LFA. I think Austin Hubbard was from LFA. Might have been a couple other guys too. I just can't remember. But for those of you if you have Access TV, LFA was pretty much like one of their premier MMA showcases that they had on Access. But they just recently ended their broadcast deal with LFA. And it really sucks because LFA is one of the best like regional, I guess, promotions you could say out there. A lot of fighters who come through that organization go on to other organizations and become successful. Not saying they're all just going to be like world champs, but they turn out really good fighters. Like I said, Austin Hubbard was from LFA. Who else? Eric Anders. I think KGB Lee fought there. Sabina Mazo's from LFA. Kevin Aguilar. Ryan Spann. A lot of guys I could go down and down the list if my memory was good.
Brandon Moreno, who after getting cut from the UFC, went there, won the title, is now back.
Yeah. Like LFA was an organization that if you were a young fighter, if you went there to become a champ, it held some kind of weight, and if you put on impressive performances, you either would get a call to go to the UFC or a bigger organization, or if you were a fighter who was in a big organization and you were kind of on a losing streak and you needed to go back to get some quality wins to kind of prove you still had it, you could go to LFA, and if you could become a champ there, like, it meant something. It's like, all right, you won there, so, we can invite you back and give you a second shot. And it really sucks because LFA is just a really good promotion. They put on a lot of great fights, a crazy number of cards. They put on a ridiculous number of cards. But every LFA show, you always see some crazy knockout highlight or submission highlight. Like, there's always something really good going on over there. And I just want to give them a shout out just for being, like, really one of the best organizations out there in terms of, like, regional MMA and just turning out a really just good, high-quality number of fighters. And I hope that they can land. I'm confident that they'll land somewhere, but it's kind of sucks because I really enjoyed watching them on Access TV. That's literally, like, kind of the only reason I even watched that channel.
You and everybody else who doesn't watch New Japan.
Yeah. Shout out to New Japan. I don't really watch wrestling, but I know a lot of people.
Oh, wait, they just got Impact.
Yeah, I thought they had New Japan.
No, they have New Japan, but they have now what used to be TNA, which is Impact Wrestling.
Oh, okay.
Which is hilarious.
But yeah, LFA was just a really good staple on Access. So I hope they do land somewhere because the amount of quality cards that they turn out, like, that needs to be in front of an audience somewhere. So I don't know if they'll end up on Fight Pass or I don't know. I don't know where they'll end up. I hope they'll end up somewhere. And it's kind of wild because they got cards coming up like really soon.
Yeah. So.
So kind of a crazy time to like end the broadcast deal. Friday night was this previous Friday was their last card. I gotta go back and watch it. But previous Friday was their last card on Access TV. But shout outs to everybody over at LFA, fighters, announcers, everybody who's like a part of that little family. I've really enjoyed watching their fights on Access TV when I do get the chance, and I pretty much root for everybody who comes from that organization. So big huge shout outs to LFA. Hopefully you guys land somewhere where that talent can be broadcasted because it's a good product that needs to be in front of a crowd. So shout outs to LFA and shout outs to Alex Pereira going up trying to get another belt. And that's all I got.
Yep. No. Do I have shout outs? Do I have shots? I mean, I kind of just want to laugh at Colby Covington, but I feel like it's just low hanging fruit at this point.
It's cruel at this point.
Yeah. Shouts to the American Labor Museum in Haledon, New Jersey. If you are ever in the area, people, go and visit. It's really great. I got a tour from this nice old woman named Evelyn. It's not a whole bunch to see, but if you're into labor history and immigrant history, really, it's a really neat spot. Go check it out. Um, what else? Um, I don't know. Shouts out to See, I really don't know.
Hey, you gave my educational, shout outs. That's
Uh, Hold up. Now I'm going to find something to shoot to either shoot or shout out. Oh, I finally listened to the 30 for 30 on the Sterling affairs.
mm.
So ESPN, they do along with the 30 for 30 documentary series, they do the 30 for 30 podcast series. And they had one that they released like a month or two ago on the Donald Sterling saga, where they not only covered, you know, all the stuff that came out around him being forced to sell the Clippers, the leak tapes by his mistress to TMZ and all that good stuff, but like how he got his wealth and who he actually was as a person prior to this, and what his ownership of the Clippers looked like, and how he actually helped Jerry, what's the dude's name, Jerry West,
Mm.
buy the LA Lakers, way back in the day. Um, how the Clippers were basically just a giant vanity project because he wanted what Jerry West had, and yeah, it's really fascinating stuff. Go give it a listen. I think they were probably way too nice on Sterling's wife,
Yeah, I heard that was the one complaint I heard that people had with that documentary.
where it's like, yeah, because like,
They tried to make her like a victim when she was kind of just as shady
yeah, like,
as he was.
birds of a feather and all that. So, other than that, like the rest of it's really solid. It's really interesting. So go get that listen once you're done listening to this and
Yeah, I
every
gotta
other episode we ever put out.
right. So after you get through the other 100 plus, uh, yeah, go go back and peep that. But now, shout out to the 30 for 30 is always good. I gotta go back and I gotta watch the Dennis Rodman one. Or maybe I'll do that after we get done recording. That might be my little kickback while I eat some lunch. But yeah, man, that's all we got for today's episode. It's been episode 150 of the Dojo Talk podcast. As always, give us a listen on SoundCloud, YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Play. Send questions to Dojo Talk Podcast at yahoo.com. Follow me on Twitter and Twitch, where I do stream video games at Serial Sensei. And you can buy my book, The All Bar Chronicles, for the very cheap price of 99 cents for a digital copy, or if you want the physical, $8.99. Support a poor, starving artist. But that's all we got for today's episode. As always, anytime people are being punched and or kicked in the face, we will be there to talk about it. And until next time, we will catch you guys later.